Imagine sitting down at your computer and opening up a new Minecraft world. You want to make a new world to challenge yourself, so you start anew and break down your first tree, get some food and explore, but for some reason, the game starts glitching out. Coming upon a beach, you notice something odd, something you haven't seen in your previous playthroughs. An obsidian insignia drawn in the sand. After seeing the diagram on the floor, the fog starts to darken around you. The water is darker, closer to the obsidian color in front of you. "We watch all who approach," says a sign placed on the obsidian oddity. Trying to get a better look at it yields no result of identification, so you just try and walk past it and forget. Unfortunately, you chose the wrong direction. Your game starts to lag more intensely with sounds that aren't natural to Minecraft playing. Your player forced onto the obsidian to stare at the sign as your game crashes. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another ARG that I have been requested to cover. This is AndrewGames722, and the experience I just described was his first video titled Minecraft.wmv. This is a project that got brought to my attention multiple times after I did AndrewGaming67. I recommend checking that one out after this, because I really enjoy that video too. But I figured this would just be kind of a lame copy. But looking deeper into it, my assumption was very wrong. So wrong, in fact, that this ARG expands far beyond just this one YouTube channel. But you'll understand later. This rabbit hole goes far deeper than I expected, and it'll probably go far deeper than what you think. So, with that, grab a snack, some water, and let's find out what's happening with AndrewGames722. We're still not done with the first video, as I didn't mention the description. Archived 060722. This weird thing happened in my world, but I think I fixed it. I thought I'd share. They told me not to show you guys, but I wanted to. This certainly is an interesting note. It's weird, but they thought they fixed it. The comment of "they told me not to show you guys" also piques a question of who are they, and what is their goal with that insignia. There's also some important notes in the comments. Version 1.0.46 is not a real Minecraft version, and there is a spectrogram that someone found that no one so far has been able to determine what it says. I'll show it right here if you can figure it out. I can only really make out the words possibly hell or help, but again, this is unconfirmed, and the spectrogram is near impossible to read. I tried doing it myself and got no results. It could be a false lead, which I think is a bit more likely. The same comment about the spectrogram says that for a single frame from the main menu change, the buttons to say different things, like single player being the Palladium, multiplayer being will, play tutorial level being replaced with B, and options being dead. I'd like to comment that this makes little to no sense, as going frame by frame this does not show up, and this is clearly the PC version, of which a tutorial world was never on the original PC version. So that comment's weird, but I still want to bring attention to it because it's a little odd. I went through the video frame by frame and noticed two things. The menu is normal for the time, meaning no tutorial available. Two, is that going frame by frame, I did not see the menu change at all. So either the user is correct or commented wrong, or something, I don't know. I'd also like to say, someone pointed out that the creepy sounds were a track from Yume Nikki, a man of culture I see, but that is the first video done. Let's check out the next one, the sky is not real.avi. The video starts with a player getting a bunch of sand. After their shovel breaks, they start trying to put sand on their head? The player then goes back to their house and decides to make a diamond sword. After putting the sand in his chest, and he blocks off his house. At about 1:36, there's a sound that people in the comments say is from Zelda. To me, it just seems like the player got a message ping from some app. Also, for some reason, the gravel texture is the release version of Minecraft instead of the beta textures, which is kind of weird. The player then starts swimming in the ocean going in a straight line. This is interrupted by a floating bend round for some reason. Why? No clue. It's very out of the blue and weird, especially in a Minecraft unfiction project, but we'll look at Bend Round a little closer later, so don't worry if you don't know him yet. We'll get very closely acquainted with him soon. The player continues to swim and finds another island where he explores and kills some animals for food. The player continues to explore until they find this, a floating piece of terrain. This happens to be one of the things we happened to see in the previous video, meaning our player must be walking back to the beach with the obsidian sign on it. After walking to the beach, the player looks into the sky. There's a sudden fade, and then the sky goes back to the normal color. Also, small interruption, but that .46 is edited on the screen, so it didn't fade with everything else, including the in-game text. Just a note to the creator. The player stares at the sky a little more and the environment starts to get darker. Not like a night, but rather a gloom. Suddenly, there's some dark block with a red, gyrating texture. The player picks it up and the block has no name. The player starts following this trail of red blocks, but the game gets laggier and darker. The player then finds a large amount of the blocks surrounding the obsidian insignia. They place a torch, and now there are more sounds of block placing. In a state of panic, our player lights the area so we can see. Now a large reddish-black cross is visible. The player looks into the darkness and they try to leave the area. The screen gets darker and laggier, the game barely distinguishable as such. The player continues forward and we can barely make out colors of different areas or blocks. Eventually, the player's in a position where they can only make out the sky and its stars. After some more walking, the player looks to the sky and sees clouds in an odd formation. A formation not too unfamiliar. It's a much larger version of the insignia. The player continues to look out into the distance, possibly at a structure or cloud. It's difficult to tell. The description says, archived 06-12-22. I tried going back there more equipped. There were lots of there and some of that weird thing didn't happen again. Wait, I can see! Anyway, bye for now. Before I move on, I'd like to, again, nitpick a little bit. At this section, when looking at the red blocks and stuff, the player presses F1 into their HUD off, and you can see the .46. Just a note. Exploration2.wmv starts the player in the same world, looking at the special cloud. Going down a mountain, the player finds 2 black flowers. Another thing of note, the version says beta 1.0 instead of 1.0.46. Hard to tell if this is an editing error or on purpose. After more walking in the dark, the player seems to find some object with prominent white lines. Walking towards it, it looks like a floating block with an eye texture on all of its sides. The player breaks it and makes a sound like shattering glowstone. A single piece of glowstone dust appears in their inventory. As the player exits their inventory, they can see the sun is rising now. The player looks at the new day arriving, then quickly spazzes out as their mouse movement becomes erratic. They start digging the sandy peak that they stood on, with seemingly no reason. They seem to try and put the sand on their face again when exiting their inventory. They become startled as the screen suddenly brightened a bit. The player decides to go out exploring and picks a direction. The player seems to notice the beach with the odd blocks at about 350, but decides to look away. The player gets back to their house and removes their impromptu barrier. Another thing interesting is that the crafting table's texture is now on all of its sides compared to last time when it was normal. The player starts sorting their inventory and chest, and they decide to go out and make a cobblestone hut. The video ends with them walking to their house. Archived, 6/13/2022. I found some weird eye-looking thingy. Must be out of the glowstone. Then Ira made home. We'll furnish soon. See you later. I'd like to note that one comment says that 33 cobblestone were actually missing from the chest. Bridge.wmv is next. Our player goes to the beach from the red blocks and obsidian signal and decide to make a bridge connecting the landmasses. The player builds the bridge and gets frustrated. Tries to eat sand, continues, the usual. After finishing the bridge at sunset, the player goes back to the oddly satanic spot, and then chooses to walk away as he notices the sun go down. Suddenly, as the player crosses the bridge back, their movement becomes erratic, and they hold the sand up to their player's head in the inventory to stop the crazed movement. Oh, so this is like reverse cocaine? They go back to their house, install a glass roof, and then furiously attack the door for a good 20 seconds. Archived, 6/13/2022. Was tired of swimming across to get over. I think with my new bridge I may catch something before it can run away. Exploration3.wmv. Okay, seriously, does the creator know that these titles can be edited? I'm also 90% sure that when you do drag and drop a file, it doesn't have the audio extension in the title. WMVs could be different since I only work with MP4s, but jeez, man. The game opens to the house at, is that 1080p? This is revolutionary, an ARG that's not locked at 480p. Seriously, creators watching, f you for locking everything in 480p or lower. It just makes the video more annoying and hard to watch. Please, be more creative than just setting the quality to the lowest possible setting. Even my old crappy laptop could pretty consistently reach 720p. Also, these videos are recorded in 2022 on a computer. Like, please creators, you do not need to do this stuff artificially. Anyway, tangent aside. The house is furnished with more chests and another furnace. The version release also now says beta 1.0.46 _ manifestation v2. Okay, I guess. Going outside, we can notice a growth on the red block on the player's cobblestone hut outside. Something we can also notice is that the glass texture has changed a bit. Not a big change, but still noticeable. The player goes the opposite way to the bridge and looks at the cross there, then turns around. But in a blink and you'll miss it moment, on the right of the player is a black figure. God damn it! I'm sorry, but there are so many ARGs or analog horror and fiction projects that are like, ooh, black figure. Sorry, it's just started to irritate me. Our player, of course, doesn't seem to notice it. They block off their house and go towards the hut, when all of a sudden, they need some reverse cocaine to stop twitching a bunch. They mine the red block and it just shows up as block in their inventory. Close by is a completely mined out chunk, and looking at the hut behind it in the distance is another cross. The footage cuts to, presumably, our player finding diamonds in the chunk while placing cobblestone. Going down, we can see the same spot from the cut with no one there. The player sees the diamonds and starts to mine them. The player ventures down and finds a mine shaft. After some exploring, they find a chain. That definitely wasn't in the beta. The player looks down at the end of the tunnel and changes their trajectory, choosing another mine shaft to look into. They find more of the red blocks, look around, and before the video ends, we see the player stumble into a different tunnel and find the black figure. Archive 6/13/2022. For some reason, that red stuff infected that room too. It has some name now, apparently. Just says block. Also found a really cool chunk area that showed me the way to a mine shaft, and found some diamonds. Boots coming soon! I like the little smiley face at the end. But place iteration 3.avi has the players spawning in a new dark world, using the same version as last time. This world is dark, save for a gray texture with a lamppost holding red glowing blobs. Walking to the stone structure, they step into a puddle and then choose to walk away by wandering into the darkness. The game reloads, and they find that they are spawned in a dark-colored room confined to red glass with 4 figures watching. 3 with white eyes and suits, and 1 with no facial features and a red vest. The player tries to break out with no success, and one of the figures, named 62020 in chat, types 072216. The next message is, "Our first 2 iterations were compromised because of you. The effort you've made to resist are futile. The program will continue to adapt to your inputs." Another figure, 12721, asks, "What do we do?" 62020 responds with, "We cannot let him roam freely. He has ties with the conspirator. Prune the last 2 iterations. That will erase his client-side memory." The world reloads and the player is in a completely new spot, with the version now saying Manifestation V3 instead of V2. The player starts wandering back to the bridge, and the insignia and blocks are seemingly gone. The glass remains different, however. Another dark figure, or perhaps the same, can be seen in the same spot across the river like last time. Don't even try. He's being resist. He is under our jurisdiction. Renovation.mp4 has the player walking to their cobble hut where a red block is underneath the piece of glass, as if protecting it. They walk away and choose to grab some cobblestone. The version is the same as last time, and so are the odd clouds. The player has also made themselves diamond boots like they said. The player goes back home and crafts some wood to renovate their house. After they finish, they sleep and then stare at the wall, pulling up the menu for the video to end. I could nitpick all the different things that weren't in this version, like beds, especially a bed that's not red, or wolves, but I will try to minimize that because I think you can either figure it out or don't care what was added in version blank instead of blank. Because we already know that this isn't a correct world. The description reads, archived 06/14/2022. Hey guys, back with some gameplay. Thought I would pretty up my house a little. It was getting a tad small. Anyways, bye for now. Pre-release 3_construction.avi is an interesting change, not just in the file format, but in who we follow. We can see agents 102117 and 12721, presumably the ones from last time. Based on our hand, we are likely viewing from another agent's perspective. The version now also matches the title. They're in another drab, dark stone area, and 102117 asks, "Why are we building all this?" 12721 responds with, "You know why. The project needs to be recreated. He specifically requested it. You and I are both field agents. This is our job." 102117 replies with, "I guess I don't feel safe with my entire consciousness being temporarily suspended." I know what you're talking about, but those lines of code haven't been implemented yet. Tech hasn't finalized the first iteration, retorts 12721. Meanwhile, the agent we follow has been building the room that looks similar to the one from Place Iteration. A new number, 61116, says, "Guys?" The other two agents respond with what? "There's a dark figure standing off in the distance." The agent we view from can see 3 name tags near the door, and 1 farther away. Likely in the darkness, 102117 says, "Go see what it is." 12721 exclaims not to look at it as 6116 leaves the game. "Oh god, they're so fast!" The other two agents leave the game. Our agent timidly looks towards the door at the end of the hall. They move forward to the door only to see the black figure as the video ends. Torches could also be seen across the dark landscape, probably a countermeasure by the agent specifically for this dark figure. The description only says it was archived 04/12/2022, long before the main player visited. So now we have more info, or at least backstory regarding this weird organization and their conflict with the dark figure, or conspirator. But this leaves us with more questions than answers. Discovery.avi has us back with Andrew making a little path for his house, but then suddenly, a player named EnderCreeper07 joins the game. Andrew seems surprised and looks around while EnderCreeper types, "Go to these coordinates, 332, 72, 252. Remember them." It's also odd that their writing is a teal color. After that, the chat looks weird. Command sent, saving the game. This may take a moment. EnderCreeper says, "They're going to reset you." Save the game. Stopping. Client. Then the game crashes and reloads. Our player seems very confused at first and tries to finish their path, but then pastes the coordinates into the text chat to remember them. We can also see the version number is now Manifestation V4, updated after the client shut down. Using F3, they make their way to the coordinates, not noticing the dark figure they pass, or the pig name 84. Andrew makes his way into this cave and finds a player-made dugout with soul torches and a chest. The chest has a book called Read This by The Palladium, possibly the conspirator, considering someone's previous comment relating to this. They looked outside to make sure that no one is watching and go back to read the book. "Andrew, your name is Andrew. You may not remember who I am right now, but I am the reflection. I promise you, you are not supposed to be in this place. I don't know how to get you out, but don't anger them. They will kill you. The more of a threat you pose, the more likely they will torture you and make you wish you did not exist. Lay low and be quiet. I will get you out of here one of these days." The reflection. The player replaces the book and blocks off the room and starts to erase the existence of the area at all, or try to. Then the player makes their trek back home. The description only shows the archival date of 6/14/2022. This is some cool new lore, so we seem to be trapped in a simulation of some kind. Whatever the organization is, it uses numbers and addresses us as 072216, likely an experiment or agent number. They want us to conform or fit whatever purpose they intend for us. However, the Palladium, conspirator, reflection, whatever you want to call him, wants to break us out. Iteration mainframe entry.avi is next. We start with an agent walking down red lit stairs with a piece of paper and custom object that looks like a sonic screwdriver from Doctor Who. The paper says, "Document, delivered to Project Room Infusion Shaft 06/17/2022. 12721 asks, "Has the subduer been implemented?" Dev 6435 responds with a yes. The iteration should automatically call the function whatever an anomaly is detected. Then our agent ends up in a hallway with some blue lights. "What about the dark entities Agent 6116 found?" 12721 asks. Our agent meets the end of the hallway to a scary hole. "Those entities weren't appearing in our code," the dev responds. The agent backs away and chooses another route. "I think the team found a solution, but it's not perfect. The program still crashes if they're seen," the dev adds. 12721 understands. Meanwhile, the agent we watch from has entered a grandiose room with clear pillars and a mixture of soul and redstone torches lighting the room. "We can't have them wandering around. We just can't," says 12721. Our agent approaches a large orb and enters a giant tube with a pattern on the ceiling. You seem particularly worried about this. Yes, it's inconveniencing, but it's just a bug, says the dev. 12721 says, that's what you think. As our agent reaches an iron door, the description archives the date 04/14/2022. Investigation2.avi leads us back to Andrew. He's continuing his cobblestone path from last time. While the player is making the path to his cobblestone hut, we can see he places some sand. Opening their inventory, they slowly move their mouse to the 2 pieces of sand and they move it across their face sporadically. These movements make me think of an addict or junkie who is trying to desperately resist a drug but can't. The only parallel I can think of is when Cowley in South Park uses weed to make himself concentrate better. I don't know how good of a parallel that is, but a parallel nonetheless. The player places down the sand and they seemingly go back to business as usual. After going back into his house, the player fixates on something in the distance. Black spot. But it's hard to tell if this is the reflection or something else. However, on their way to look, we can actually see in the left corner of the screen for a half second a dark figure in the same spot on the same beach as always. Making their way back to the beach from episode 1, we can see it. The same symbol that had disappeared a while back. The sign saying, "We watch all who approach." The player makes a pillar in front of the symbol and repeatedly looks from the symbol to the sky, as if to confirm that the clouds are in fact the same shape. As it gets dark and the player makes their way back home, on their way back the dark figures appear out of nowhere into his normal spot and the video ends. Archived 06/14/22. Got a little building done. Also went to check on that logo again. It seems to be in more places than I thought. Weird new feature. Next is breach.mainframe.avi. They are on Manifestation V3 instead of V4 like Andrew was. The agent we follow is in a similar room to last time but takes a new path when he sees 6/20/20 say, "Was the reset successful?" The agent walks into a dome-like room with 2 other agents, the red-vested man and a map. 12721 responds, "It worked, but did leave behind some player and container data from the previous iterations." The agent views the map and we can see it as a map of Andrew's world, or rather the world he inhabits. That will be fine, just so as long as the TV keeps him occupied. His relations with the conspirator make us within the reach of the reflection, says 6/20/20. The dev chimes in, "Wait, who the hell is Ender Creeper 07? At this time the agent seems startled, looking up from the map. He just breached the iteration. There's been a breach. Shut the simulation down. I'm trying, it's slow. Command sent. Shut it down. Saving the game. This may take a moment. Save the game. Stop the client." This gives us some interesting information regarding the other side of this ordeal. The reflection and the conspirator seem to be 2 different people. Ender Creeper 07 is also an unknown actor to the organization and Andrew, but seems to know who they are, who Andrew is, and how to help take them down. The description was, archived 06/14/22. So we can see that all the past different videos have been archived in a short time span. Next is temp_pre-alpha_0.0.23. This one sees us, presumably as an agent, in a room made of the dark block. They pick up 6 mushrooms and the world is dark, lava lakes stretching to the horizon. This is a world drenched in darkness and fire, a world not too far from the descriptions of hell. During their walk through this dark plane, we can also see that the version name is beta 1.0.46_pre-alpha_0.0.23. This is a really odd naming scheme. I mean, a pre-alpha of a subversion of a beta? But as the player walks around, they pick up a red tainted block, seemingly the ones that infect a world. We can also see that the agent is very specific in their movements, similar to Andrew when he needs his sand. The player eventually picks up 5 new wood logs and uses them with what we can now infer based on their placing sound is likely dirt to bridge across the lava river. The player eventually looks at the lava lake, at the moon, at the lava lake again, and decides to end it off by jumping in. Below half HP, we can hear a shrill laughing or screaming noise that sounds like a hyena, and the footage ends. The description, however, is new. Alongside an archival date of 6/18/22, there's a pastebin link. The link says the same archival date as well as this jumble of letters. Decoding this into the base 64, we can get, well, this thing, which is not incredibly helpful, except when you put it at the end of a YouTube URL. This gets us the hidden video, no directory. This shows us the same hellish world from a fixed camera position. The description is base 64 code, and when converted says, "The temp was taken care of. The compromise our systems endured will not be tolerated. The Doomstriders continued their evil assault on our diligent and loyal agents." This seems to be some evidence that this is the reflections domain, and that the agent was taken, and even through his torture he never gave information. That's my current interpretation. However, we have at least 30-something videos left to go, so there's no guarantees. That was written before I found out the other multiple channels in this series, so it's closer to actually 100. Building 4.avi starts us back with Andrew, who is sorting their inventory. He then chooses to go across the river to where we normally see the dark figure, where we can see a new build. As they walk in, they push sand into their face, again to calm down. This house has significantly more windows and angles to look from than the previous house, likely intentional by Andrew so he doesn't miss anything. Andrew starts decorating and sorting the house. After that, Andrew starts to make a bridge connecting the other island to his new home. An interesting detail is that throughout this video, there has been no background music. Only about halfway through building does any appear. It's a small and likely inconsequential detail, but this has happened in previous videos and will continue to happen. When he walks back into his house, the video goes black and we see the dark figure awaiting Andrew's return. Through a cut of black in the game, we see the figure punching Andrew. When we get back, he's in his original house with no items in his inventory. Andrew goes back to pick up his stuff, chews on some sand, closes the door, and then he tries to use F5. Yes, F5 wasn't added at this time, but that's not important. This is the first time that the dark figure has shown direct and actually aggressive interactions with Andrew. The description says, archived 06-15-22. Did some work on the new bridge, got an unexpected visitor. Do you think he would be happy with diamonds? Building 1.avi provokes an immediate question. Why were we shown building 4 first? We start as Andrew in front of his house, who looks to the other island and points, the spot he wants to build to, with no house. This is in fact the footage that's supposed to fill in the gaps of what happened before building 4. When crossing to the other island, they utilized the sand more aggressively than other times, before starting to clear the local trees. The rest of the video is just terraforming. The comments claim that 3 roses in a row or a dirt spot looking vaguely like the symbol are seen, but honestly, they're not really evidence enough for anything meaningful, so they're pretty negligible. The description states, archived 6-15-22. Gonna get started on a new house. This one's gonna have a big window. Building 2.avi is next, and we see more of the process with creating a new house. They start on the section overlooking the water and continue drafting the floor plan from there. For a brief moment while building, the player uses the sand. It cuts to black when we come back to the Minecraft music plays in reverse for a few seconds, and the player builds much faster. The rest of the video has the player finishing the frames of the house. The description just states, archived 06-15-22, starting on the frame. We don't get a building free afterwards. What we do get is investigation 3.avi. This has Andrew on the new bridge from building 4 with an inventory mostly filled with sand. Andrew starts trying to put the sand in his chest, but it almost looks as if it's mentally painful for him to put the sand away. He needs at least 1 stack. Something new we can also see is that instead of saying manifestation 4, it's V4_1. Andrew puts down a cobblestone stair in the cobble hut and just sits and watches the red block under the glass. After a bit, his movements go crazy and he decides to mine down. He finds the chunk from one of the earlier videos. He goes crazy and the video ends, with him likely falling into it. The description states, archived 6-16-22. Console, dump iteration. This leads to a new link underneath. This is a mega.nz link that is titled world4.zip. This is the download for Andrew's world, up until this point. I tested it in 1.20.1 where I was able to get it in, but I just want to give a quick warning. Be careful with links on the internet, you never know what you're going to get. I used this, I didn't have a problem, but there's never any guarantee, so always be careful. The sand is gone from his chest. The red block in the hut is also now just mossy cobblestone. The chunk is there, and so is the obsidian insignia. One other spot is the room with the book. It's still there, and there's a sign that says, they still haven't found this. Ender Creeper. I would recommend you check out the world for yourself if you want. One neat thing that the mine shaft goes down to bedrock, all the way down past Deep Slate, which would make some sense and no sense at the same time considering the series. SubduerAnomaly.avi has the player load into their world. However, there is sand everywhere. I would assume this is from the sand in his chests, as it is only within a certain vicinity of the player that the sand is dispersed, covering trees, the houses, and even both bridges. We can also note that _1 is gone from the v4 and the version tag. Interestingly, the torches have no sand on them, as if a layer of sand fell from the sky onto the area, rather than someone hand placing it. While walking on the bridge, we can see a brief cut to the sky above the symbol clouds. A manifestation v4_1 can be seen transposed over the other version tag. After making their way across the bridge, the player suddenly goes in reverse for a few seconds, before a click sound catches their attention. Turning around, we can see a horde of agent skins behind the player. The description just gives its archival date of 6/15/22. Exploration_chunkerror.avi is next and has the player back at the bottom of the chunk in iteration v4_1. A sign on the floor says anomaly_pruned by 072216 reset. Andrew walks through his familiar mine shafts, mining new ones, but finding nothing too odd. After some more searching, he finds a diamond and gets excited, which leads him to drop into a mine shaft below. After finding only a dead end, he turns around to find an old friend. Archived 6/15/22. Hey guys, did some mining today. Sorry for the lack of written updates. Fire.avi is next, and it has us back with Andrew in his world as normal, lacking a sandy cover and with a new v5 attached to the version tag. The player is walking back to their house, but soon we can see something is very wrong. There's a fire in the house. The player rushes to their house and walks to see how the fire is spreading incredibly quickly. They attempt to call the flames, but end up failing. The player gets hit into the water below with a flint and steel and cobbled deep slate in their inventory. They climb back up and attempt to use water bucket to stop the fire as well, but nothing. Nothing works. By the time they can stop the flames, the house is barely half standing. The player starts to try rebuilding their house after the fire. They take all the sand from their chests, but freak out for a moment and then rush to put it back. After some more building of the frame, they go back to their other house to take the chests and bring it back. But as the player comes back, they notice something is wrong with the house now. Or rather, something is right. The house is completely back to what it was. The roof and everything else is fixed. The player looks around confused as to who could have done this. In the house are 5 signs, all repeatedly saying redacted. The player breaks the signs and starts to sort their chest and inventory. While doing so, they accidentally place the sand in the chest and their mouse goes crazy as they realize they need it back. Once they do so, they look at the pillars in the lake at the obsidian insignia as a red version of it flashes on the screen. The player goes to their right before the video ends. We can see 2 black figures standing on the bridge. Archive 6/25/22. There was a big fire that destroyed my whole house. Seems the shadowy figure doesn't work alone, but who burnt and rebuilt the house? Also, I've noticed the comments for this one were a lot more detailed about things that can't or don't happen in this version. I think we can all agree this is a modified version of Minecraft, and likely a fake version that runs on a server of some sort of system that can force their consciousness into the game. This was kinda confirmed a while back, while they hinted at something like this, but I don't want to settle on an idea. They could surprise me. ExceptionNotHandled.avi starts with Andrew enjoying the view from his newly built second floor deck in his house. Clearly, he's made some upgrades. Instead of going by bridge, Andrew walks the opposite way around to get to the logo for some reason, possibly because he thinks his bridge is no longer safe. He finds a hole in the middle of the logo and we can see it goes down far, possibly to either a water source or the void. Andrew plugs it up with a cobblestone block and walks away. They explore a bit more and find the floating island from before. The player attempts to use the sand in their inventory, but doesn't. A glitch overtakes the screen and we start seeing the player visibly shaking as they walk to start mining dirt. While doing so, our frame message says, "What the fuck, the subduer is failing!" The player continues to go crazy and climbs the mountain, using the dirt to bridge to the floating island. As they do so, the world gets darker and more fuzzy. Getting to the island reveals a sign. The sand. It's in the sand. At the end of the video, in a desperate attempt, Andrew wipes the sand across the screen to no avail. Archive 6/27/22. I knew it! They're subjecting me to... Neutralize.avi. The world is reloading and the player's inventory is now full of sand. The sign and torch are gone, so is the bridge, the background music, sounds warped and backwards as the player makes their way back home. The player takes all their other items out and fills the inventory with sand, choosing to look out to the lake listening to the reversed backwards music. Archive 62722. Next is manifestation_s113.avi, which has us loading again to a new version of Minecraft, giving the player a new skin. Minecraft beta 1.0.46_manifestation_s113. God, try saying that 3 times fast. The player mines a tree and walks around. They pass by an obsidian logo in a gravel pit, but seem to ignore it. After killing a cow, they go down to inspect it. The sky, however, is normal. No weird logo in the clouds. Once it turns night, the player makes it a wooden block as their base. We can also see a creeper, a hostile mob. Its explosion sounds weird, but this also means something else. Hostile mobs can spawn in this version. That sounds stupid, but they didn't spawn around Andrew no matter how dark it got in many of the previous versions. The player then makes a dark mine for themselves to gather some cobblestone. He makes a furnace, and we can finally see the little hidden room he's made. After making some stone tools and food, he leaves the safety to go back into his wooden house and improve it. And when the player looks around, we can see the dark figure again. The player then walks up to the logo and tries to break the center. They can't break it, so they break 2 trees and look at it till the end of the video. Archive 62622. Conspirator_minecraft.iteration.avi brings us back to Andrew's world, and we see he has stuff in his inventory again. However, on his deck is a cobblestone wall with signs. Andrew, it's me. I don't know how long it'll be until they censor this sign, but I'm gonna find a way to get us out of here. I promise. The reflection will be under a black moon. He won't be able to help us. It's just that he cannot know that I made it here. This could be Ender Creeper, but it seems like a black moon will stop the black figure from watching over us. Maybe. Andrew breaks the signs quickly and throws them into a chest. As he looks out of his window, he sees a giant mass of what looks like red blocks. They look like they could be overflowing out of the logo. A giant mass trying to escape. Getting cover triggers some odd buzzing noises. The logo has been broken by the red block and fills the hole and some of the surrounding blocks. Andrew continues to explore the mass of blocks. Andrew digs down through the red blocks and falls through his world into the sky of the other world. He lands over the obsidian logo in the gravel pit and finds the other player's house. We're also in the other version. Andrew tries to open the door and the screen cuts to black. He ends up in a repeating wooden room with cobblestone floors and ceilings. The room repeats no matter what direction Andrew mines in. It's hopeless. As he walks, a dirt placing sound can be heard. But Andrew doesn't pay attention as it appears in doorways he's already broken. The screen starts to slowly degrade in quality as he continues with the background noise getting more like the sound of scratching metal. Continuing, the floors and walls slowly become barely distinguishable until the video suddenly ends. Archive 62822. The conspirator broke free of their trap. Those buzzing sounds from before were too odd not to look at. Opening the sounds in a spectrogram shows us this. Does martyrdom appeal to you that much? With the logo next to it. This is a really cool idea, but what does this mean? Well, not sure yet. Could be about Andrew, could be Ender Creeper, could even be the dark figures or the agents. We just don't know yet. Next is investigation4_frame.avi. It has presumably Andrew based on the inventory in the same version as last time, wandering in this infinite obsidian frame until he stumbles upon a cross made of the red blocks with redstone torches, and the red blocks serving to make a circle, and the symbol around it next to it we can see signs. Alexander, security guard anomaly. The man winged cap, anomaly. Subject _113, conspirator, wandering. 072216, failed executor, wandering. Temp _0.23 tractor. Anomaly. Andrew seems to know what his number is as he points to it when he gets to it. Andrew spots more signs a little ways away. Going to them, they say, Andrew, they're coming for you next. Don't become like us. Fight. Fight like hell. Andrew becomes stressed and starts to go for his sand, but then throws it into the void. Andrew looks at the sky and hears some buzzing when he looks down and sees multiple agents. Then the video ends. The description says, Archived, 62822. Where am I? That buzzing at the end is another spectrogram. Looking at the spectrogram, it looks like this creepy face. Who is it? No clue. Next is house.avi. The version and player are different. 1.0.46_A0. And the player's hand is not familiar. They're walking on a flat plain when suddenly we see a house come into view. The player picks up 2 roses outside of the house and walks around to the back of it before going back to the front porch and entering. The house is dark with sparse detail and we can see some very small VHS glitching. They go upstairs and one of the rooms drops the 2 roses they collected, a glitch covering the screen with each rose is thrown. The player continues to explore. After going downstairs, they attempt to enter the basement, when, all of a sudden, the screen glitches and we can see in green text, "No more," next to an eye under what looks like a stool. The eye disappears and the new text says, "I know what you're doing. This elaborate project of yours, you put my damn brother in it. All because he saw through." Then we can see a diagram labeled Project Place. Now you're mourning your parents as if you wouldn't have done the same to them. You made this channel. You put Andrew in a little simulation of a popular game, a place within a place, all to keep everyone away from the reflection. He's the one man you can't stand to see live. Fortunately for you, the reflection is dealing with other affairs. Not so fortunately, I'm going to make sure you have no peace. I will be your personal hell as long as you continue to play God and manufacture this place. I am no evil man. Tell that to the eye, 6/2020. The end has a logo that somewhat resembles the one we've seen previously. Another important note is that the face seen behind some of the words is the same as the one in the spectrogram. This man, 6/2020, is evil. He's why Andrew is trapped and the reflection is too busy to stop him directly. But this other voice, the other voice seems to be able to step in. Maybe that's why we saw 2 dark figures on the bridge. There was no description for this video. But also, thank you to the Weakest87 or Mordov for telling someone in the comments that I would be on this one. Nice to see. Obsidian.avi is next and has Andrew back in his normal house with his sand stockpile refilled. We can also see the version is updated. He is on Manifestation V6 now. Looking back to the logo, the mass of red is gone. The player continues to avoid the bridge, and on their way they get visions of some sort. A red glow, then the dark world, then red lights ablaze, ending by a scream. The logo is now fixed and the sign is different from usual. Ender Creeper 07 equals the Palladium. A red glitch on screen flashes with red text. Don't look at that! We cut back to the startled player as the sign is now broken. The player circles back home and uses their bridge with a new glass texture on it. As it becomes night, the player goes back to sleep in the first house. Archive 6/29/22. No more red blocks. Subject 072216_ has _entered _frame.avi is the next video, opening with an agent on Manifestation V5 breaking all the red blocks from before. Dev6435 says subject 072216 has entered the frame. 6/2020 asks how. Well, ever since we started pruning Manifestation S113's code to try and trap subject 113, broken chunks are beginning to appear in infinitely repeating sectors. That's how 072216 entered the frame. Too little of the manifestation was erased to allow for a normal crash, chimes 12721. Resulting in this iteration's anomalous behavior, finishes the dev. Where is the conspirator fled to if he is not in his intended iteration? S6/2020. Dev responds, he has found an exploit to cross into V5. That explains the hole in the insignia. 6/2020 replies to erase 5, and the dev says that they have agents cleaning it up and we can't just delete it. It's the parent iteration. If they did that, the Wanderers would either be transferred to the mainframe iteration or to the system. 127 replies it'd be dangerous, since the player already have ways to communicate. During a cut we hear, "I am the one who will burn this place to the ground." The only words we've heard so far. After cutting back to the player, we see 2 more shortcuts of what looks like the center of the dark area and agents had been in. The dev says that the second safeguard to kill the Wanderers and prevent communication has not been working well. 6/2020 replies, okay, no more creating anomalies. No more. Wait, what? 072216 just disposed their subduer. Disposed it? Threw it out of his inventory, straight into the void. Our code shouldn't let him do that. Send agents now. He must be pruned again. The end of the video cuts to show the red blocks gone after the agent finished digging them out. Archive 6/28/22. Don't become like us, 28. Weird description, but okay. It looks like the agents are trying to contain Andrew since he has become an anomaly, not reacting to their programming. The sand is losing its effect. The sand must be the subduer. Operation RevenantSim.avi shows a new agent with a stack of TNT and a flint and steel. Looking more in the light, however, this is not an agent's hand. It's another man in a suit with a blue suit. Jumping into a hole, they find a very large dark room with the red lights with a previous version we saw. This is the room they likely held Andrew in. The player fills the room with TNT, pulls out their flint and steel and types in chat, "Good night." Lighting the TNT, we see that the user is the Palladium. As the TNT blows up, the screen glitches. The dark world is now largely on fire. Whatever the Palladium blew up was pretty important. We got to see from an outward view the damage caused by the destruction. Next is Nether.avi. This one has Andrew back in his house making a diamond pickaxe. And on his way to the logo, he picks up a few roses. While mining the obsidian, we get to see some of the gray shifting metallic animation. After getting the obsidian he needs to make a portal, he lights it. When going through, however, he doesn't end up in the Nether. Rather, he's in a bedrock tunnel. The footage starts to glitch and we see signs up ahead. "You're not supposed to be here." Keep going. "Andrew, stop now, before it's too late, before you are like us. The conspirator and Fleshling both know this." Andrew gets intimidated by the dark end of the tunnel and quickly retreats back to the overworld. When safely back, he destroys the portal. While walking away, Andrew watches the portal, as if making sure nothing comes out of it. Archive 63022. The Nether is broken. What's going on? What are these blue signs? Next is PurifiedHallway.avi. Andrew looks back into his house with 3 roses, and he gets some dirt. He starts to decorate these around his house. After going inside, he picks up a flint and steel and walks to the old house. Walking in, he falls for a pitfall trap, ending up down a giant hole in a pool of water. The only door in front of him leaves him to a green hallway. Picking up one of the blocks, it says block_purified. There's signs in the hallways as well. Finally, you've come to your senses. Andrew, you are one of many to arrive here in the place. I arrived before, if you remember who I am at all. S113. Whatever they try to do to you, do not become like me. Instead, be free like me. Strengthen your will. Yes, be like him. As of right now, you must still not remember the man you were. The reflection will be here eventually. He is dealing with other affairs at the moment, but I know one day he will burn this place to the ground. 46 Intel stands no chance. He cannot trap us forever. Then Andrew sees the chunk error. He looks down and goes back to the puddle from before, taking a purified block and observing it better. He sits in the pool and stares into the sky. A glitch comes across the screen and faint red text says, "Don't listen to the signs, Andrew. Use the sand to calm yourself." Andrew uses the sand to calm himself down and walks through the hall to collect all the signs. He starts shaking as he gets to the last sign and has trouble breaking it, until he does. He throws all the sand into the chunk, it cuts to black. So, this is where I have to explain something. AndrewGames722 has commented on at least one of my videos, but one thing I noticed that another ARG channel would comment the same thing as him. That channel being 46 Intel. At the moment, they only have 6 videos, but I think that we do need to cover them to get the full picture. Now their videos are actually shorter, so let's take a quick look at them. Their channel description says, "We watch all who approach. Your efforts against us are in vain. Our presence in your world is much larger than you could possibly imagine. Don't think we aren't watching. We are amongst you. All of us. But you can't tell the difference. We were ruined. We were lost, but of course now, you wish you would help us. Good luck." The first video is 3-22-21. Wavy letters say soon, and then 278 days and counting. The video is far too dark to make out what the last sentence is, but a commenter says that the last bit of text says it isn't over. Then the logo is faintly there, as well as 620-20-20. Then the logo is there as well. 6-20-20 is next, and shows the symbol again, and then some music, and waving symbols that turn into, "This is not a test." Then we can get more red letters saying this, and Hisnolay from some symbols. But that's where I got stuck. I couldn't find anything discernible from this code. 7-12-21 is next, and shows the logo, then transfers to a warped screen of their user named P0L, with a checkmark next to his name. The heavy filters just keep spinning over the channel, then the logo. The rest of the video just has some odd noises playing. There's also a weird comment by absent_fiend that has some completely unrelated text, but it's this. If anyone can figure that shit out, I would be insanely impressed. I tried using a mixture of codes, but I couldn't find anything. The next is this abomination, which through base 64 decodes to infiltration detected. On screen is a weird red face that vaguely looks as if it belongs to an N64 Legend of Zelda game. Red waving text on the top says infiltration detected. More wavy red text says, it's him. Then we get a wavy red screen with presumably a dark figure. How did he get in? The next splotch of red text says. The next scene is the logo with red words. He's using the machine, there are 2 now. He let him use his technology against him. The agency won't last much longer at this rate. Connection terminated by user John Palladium. Locating alternate timeline. File found. The next scene has us with a black box, glowing red outline. And oh my god, it's a FNAF reference. The last few seconds are a red face, but likely the evil face we've seen before. The description repeats, how did he get in? Over and over, as well as tag enter 3.12.24 tag end. The significance? I still don't know. The next video is mainframe_breach_05_01_22. The video has the logo pop up after 20 seconds, and I'll let the audio play.
020, the leader of 46 Intel. Your secret agent, J. John, was dealt with just about 18 months ago. Ever since, any futile effort you have made to gain a victory over us has been unfruitful, ineffective, and laughable. The deal we struck with the one in need of a host has since fallen through. No matter, his hubris will keep your actions from advancing much further. You may know me as Agent 62020, the leader of 46 Intel. Your secret agent, J. John, was dealt with just about 18 months ago. Ever since, any futile effort you have made to gain a victory over us has been unfruitful, ineffective, and laughable. The deal we struck with the one in need of a host has since fallen through. No matter, his hubris will keep your actions from advancing much further. It does our bidding whether he wants to or not. Your every move has been anticipated, every strategy countered before it even began. You pride yourself on your intellect and intuition, but it is nothing compared to the network I command. Your allies, they whisper secrets they think are safe, but they echo right back to me. I've watched you, studied you. You believe in your cause so fervently, convinced that you're the hero in this grand narrative. But what is a hero without victories? A mere shadow, a reflection of hope that never materializes. Your persistence is admirable, but ultimately futile. Even now, as you scramble to find new figures to do your dirty work behind the scenes, I remain 10 steps ahead. The game was over before it even began, because you were always playing by my rules, in my domain. So, continue your noble quest, reflection. Continue fighting a battle you've already lost. Every move you make strengthens my resolve, and every setback you face is a testament to my superiority. You are nothing more than a reflection in a shattered mirror. Your time is up, and soon you will accept the inevitable, as 46 Intel reigns supreme.
The video glitches for a few frames and we can see the creepy face. Someone new then takes over.
A bit of a chaotic situation right now. I just broke in to the 46 Intel headquarters, skin and teeth were shed for this. I don't know if anybody can hear me. I don't know where this is going, but I hope it goes somewhere. I want everyone to know that I made it here. I made it here for John. I made it here so that I can shut this shit down. I'm bringing 46 Intel to his knees. And if that means stealing all this valuable equipment, then I will do it. I do not care. This has been a fight for me for the past 6 years. I saw the world brought to rubble. I watched them take over. I watched them subjugate an entire population who had seen to the most devastating event of their entire lives. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm bringing this down. I'm bringing it all down. I'm going to burn this place And if I don't, then I'm going to make sure I set things up so that John can. He is the only person who can destroy this place because he is the only person who knows the mind of 46 Intel like no other. And maybe he doesn't understand why now, but soon he will.
The connection has been terminated, but then it welcomes 072216, Andrew. Through the previous speech, we also see that the logo changes. A green star with new white letters, but I can't tell what it means. The description just repeats, "There's a special place," over and over. The last video up until now, which may accidentally shoot us ahead of the timeline, is "This is not reversible." The logo is displayed in a weird way with the number 722 visible before it, and red text come on saying, "We will free 722 and 113. Only if you offer up the reflection as sacrifice. Choose wisely. This is not reversible. Have you chosen? He will not be garbled. Give us the reflection. Do we need to reveal ourselves?" After this, a creepy face appears on screen and the video ends. The description repeats, "This is not reversible," ended with "Choose wisely." The spectrogram of this video reveals the diagram similar to the one we saw previously, of the place. I swear there's only one more part of this. Sadly, it's the longest. We get sent a zero bin link with this dissertation. This is not a test. There is nothing to hide or prepare for. By hijacking this very channel, we, 46 Intel, have integrated ourselves into your world and your minds. This video has been unable to be deleted, so forever it shall stay here. No matter how hard the owner of said channel tries. You may know me as Agent 62020, the leader of 46 Intel. My identity is no secret if you look hard enough, however. We operate outside your comprehension. My agency has long been devoted to unlocking the secrets of the fourth dimension. My restrictions as an alternate to your delicate world bound to my own time have since been unlocked by my own innovation. I am no longer confined to my own world, and soon I will impede on your own. Many have attempted to thwart our plan in an effort to save your world. Such fools include Jackson Leda and Samuel Good, but their efforts against us are in vain. Lest we not forget your friends and now betrayers J. John and Andrew Loxton, who now have found themselves internally entrapped in our domain for their insolence. Our presence in your world is already much larger than you could possibly imagine. We are amongst you. All of us. But you can't tell the difference between one of us and one of your own. You knew then we were ruined. You knew we were lost, but of course now you wish you had helped us. There's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide. We are inevitable. And to you, the Palladium, John, you know deep down exactly who I am. But you insist on not sharing that information with your viewers because it would turn them against you. They would know too much about you and the hidden life you lead. So choose your future actions wisely, or else I have a special place for you for the rest of time. This pastebin link is in a community post by 46 Intel, but now we can go back to AndrewGames722. Luckily we only have... Fuck, that's a lot. And we haven't even gotten to the Palladium yet. Oh no. I'm just going to interject in the story here. If you enjoy this, please check out my other stuff and consider subscribing. There's going to be a 10k subscriber special where I intend to unveil a little side project I know some people have wanted for a while. I want to try hitting this goal before the end of the year, so even if you don't want to subscribe, share the video with a friend who might enjoy this and try to pester them to subscribe, I don't know. Anyway, my little ramble's over. Back to Andrew Games. Manifestation v7.avi is where we left off, and we see Andrew in the same hall as last time. Except the blocks are red and unpurified. Andrew is now in Manifestation v7, with all his sand back in the control of Intel 46. Andrew backtracks through the tunnel, gets to his wooden part, and takes a ladder back up. The music is playing in reverse again as Andrew walks back to his large house. At the end of the video, he opens the door only to find the dark figure waiting, and the video ends. The description says, "Destroy the signs, Andrew," multiple times before saying, "You did it, Andrew." I just want to say, I am infuriated with my discovery on this video. I found it. I found the Palladium. And guess how many fucking videos he has? 300! Granted, many of them are unrelated to the ARG and are from a long time ago, so I'm going to have to figure out which ones I need to look at. Luckily, Palladium has so generously put the videos here for me. Based on some of the dating of the playlist, it could be out of order, but I'm covering it in playlist order. The first video in the playlist is 06_21_1997.mov. This video is in a VHS style, reading that it's around midnight, June 21st, 1997. The screen is dark and the background noise stops like a heart monitor beeping, as well as a music box. At 12:11, all the noise stops and the scene changes, slightly. Difficult to make out, but the change itself is noticeable. Then the 46 logo blares annoyingly loud and we get a new clip. October 21st, 2017, 4:05 p.m. This clip is in, assumedly, Gary's mod or another Source Engine game. The player is running up and down the stairs at a very erratic pace. The player in their erratic running sees a dark eye, similar to the one that we saw all the way back when Andrew had broken it. The screen goes dark, and when it comes back, it shows the date as June 11th, 2016 at 1:13 p.m. The player is in a nature area by a roadside. Behind them, a large ball of light brightens until taking up the entire screen. After this, the video ends. Next is 08_17_1998.mov, and this one starts with something more tangible. Our recorder is a police officer interviewing someone on the 17th of August, 1998 at 10 a.m. We can actually pause the police report to find out the incident is from June 21st, 1997, the location was a general hospital, and the state this happened in is Pennsylvania. It's difficult to tell what the incident is, but recurrent or incident, again, difficult to tell exactly. The investigating officer is also named Heath, yet our interviewee is unnamed. The interviewee describes that they were at the hospital giving birth to a baby boy. 14 months after their birth, their extended family started dying, and she believes there's a tie somehow. She thinks it's some interference by God, but the officer tries to explain that there's little to no likelihood that the events are connected to her son's birth. But then she details episodes that her son seems to make devilish screams as she describes. She becomes worried that her son is a devil's child. The officer assures her that he has 2 sons and that kids are just weird sometimes. She then describes how her son is 2 years old and doesn't know how to walk. Yet in the middle of the night, he'll be standing in her doorway, staring at her. The cop tells her to have a good day, saying he's a cop, not a priest, and the recording cuts. But then we see this face again. "Sorry to see you go, Mom. I will take that man's child and torture him for his neglect of you." He starts repeatedly saying "he" as if laughing. The next scene is a bedroom, presumably a child's, considering the old Minecraft poster. Teal text comes on saying, "Do you remember this place? You grew up here. Why did you do that to Alexander? You know he didn't deserve it. And now his brother won't stop." Then the figure of what looks like a child comes on screen. Red text says, "He deserved every second." The screen starts to invert and the text changes. "You're next, Nicholas." Green text starts to appear. 20, 15, 18, 20, 21, 18, 5, 20, 15, 18, 20, 21, 18, 5. Flames come on screen as we see the face again. "Your mother would be disappointed. Oh, the life you could have lived." The result of what happened that day is irrelevant now. The reflection's good heart won. And here you are, burning alive in another man's body. The background of that final sequence was just a repeat of the FNAF Sim ending cutscene. I really like it. And regarding that code of numbers, taking the number and comparing it to the corresponding letter in the English alphabet, we get torture, torture. Next is Minecraft Xbox number 1, 28 Pumpkins. This video is an 8-year-old video of the main character's original video, now weaved into this story. They introduce themselves as Master Link. This video doesn't seem to be completely or directly lore relevant besides one simple thing, 28 pumpkins. And of course that this is the creator's world. Funny detail, because the recorder is using an external camera, you can actually see them playing the game in the darker sections. The player picks up 28 pumpkins throughout the video. This will be relevant later. The Palladium and Andrew Games both comment 28 on the video too. The description has 2 other channels linking to it, both long gone, and beneath them, the name Andrew Games. They likely say this due to the unlisted video link underneath named 28. We see a still camera shot of the pumpkin patch, and one of the agents asks, "Why 28 pumpkins?" The other agent doesn't know, and the first wonders if he's trying to recreate the good old days. The other agent says that it probably angers and haunts him. The first agent then mentions about what he lost and what the reflection didn't lose. Then the first agent mentions how he projected the envy what he lost onto another agent's brother. We'll have to learn more about that later. Then the other agent says how he hasn't heard the number in a long time and is surprised the guy went under the radar so well. Then the first agent asks why the traitor would want to frame someone, and the second agent gives the cliffhanger of what any traitor would want to do to this agency. Okay, there's a lot of videos in this playlist, so I'm going to try and speedrun as many of them as possible, considering a lot of them have their relevance stemmed in them being background for whom I assume is our main villain, or certain characters. When You Accidentally Open a Paradox is about the creator accidentally sending multiple versions of himself to the same timeline and accidentally creating a paradox that collides to different realities. The next one is When You Try to Close the Paradox. It shows that the time is June 10th, 2016. We see a bunch of the clones from last time, but older. The new Palladium says that if you don't listen to him, then everyone he loves will be hunted down. He's rudely interrupted by a previous version of himself, saying that the timelines are kinda colliding right now, and the future Palladium then hands the 2016 Palladium a tripod, saying that he needs to use it to prevent an apocalypse. The alien apocalypse. The object is supposed to zap things back to their proper timelines, whether they be aliens, UFOs, or something else. After some arguing about when the second alien apocalypse would be, Palladium mentions that him and Jonathan are being hunted down. Then the future Palladium realizes that one of them is an imposter and holds him down. It's up to the 2016 Palladium to grab something to kill it. Using the new device, he steals a lightsaber from one of his other older videos and kills his impersonator. Then the world starts crumbling, so they need to get sent back to their respective timelines. Then the screen fades black and the title card says Alien Apocalypse 3 2023. Is all of this just really a thoroughly planned out alien story? The next video is the original Alien Apocalypse. It just shows two boys going around and reacting to aliens attacking their neighborhood. The description is the part where we want to focus on though. John and Lucas. Those are the two names. From the video we hear the diamond shirt boy is John and the other is Lucas. So now we have names to put to faces, or at least a few so far. The next video is The War is Over PCU. This video is a mock of federal government emergency alerts. It iterates that this is not a test and that the country is in a national emergency.
My fellow Americans, today I address you with a burdened heart. In the wake of the devastating alien attack that plunged humanity into a cataclysmic thermonuclear war, it is with great regret that I must announce the formal dissolution of the United States of America. The very fabric of our society has suffered a devastating blow by forces beyond our control. Our once proud nation lies in ruins, fractured by the horrors of war and the insidious influence of extraterrestrial invaders. The ideals upon which our nation was founded, liberty, justice, and democracy, are now distant memories, overshadowed by the grim reality that we face at this very moment. In the midst of our devastation, it is clear that our government can no longer fulfill its sacred duty to protect and serve the American people. The institutions that once bound our society together are no longer able to withstand the onslaught of destruction unleashed upon us by these outsiders, and have entirely crumbled since the onset of this devastating war. The nation we have fought so tirelessly to defend from the forces of fascism, communism, terrorism, and totalitarianism is no more.
I had to end that early due to sirens blaring in the background, and I know that there are some risks associated with playing certain sirens and EAS sounds, but I just want to be safe, plus it gets really annoyingly loud, so I'm assuming you don't really want to listen to that anyway. After the speech, we see that only a few minutes, the red numbers go up by millions. Whether this is death toll or alien numbers is not clear yet. The number reaches around 3.6 billion when the screen changes. Alex, is it safe yet? I got word from him myself. It's time. The world is beyond recognition. Our world may be in rubble, but I will find us all a home. Something to believe in, something to die for. There's a place for all of us. The text from the three different voices is interesting, mainly because it displays two things. Trust and not capitalizing the P in place. That sounds nitpicky, but every time the servers are mentioned, they are called the place with a capital P. So this tells us that 1, they haven't been found, 2, we know that they're kept safe, and 3, maybe the Red Voice, or John, maybe, wasn't always evil. Another thing is a comment here. User, the real P0L says, "How's Jack?" The Palladium replies with that he's good. Does anyone remember P0L from a previous video? Well, too bad. The channel seems completely unrelated, and he's a guy who does real-life stuff, and no signs that he's part of the ARG. Next we have The Eye Sees Everything. This one starts with a red light over what looks to be a Link statue, similar to the one from the creepypasta Bend Round. After this, there are multiple shots of the figure, one being turned over, and in this shot we can see this is an intersection from the staircases we saw previously. Then we transition to a CRT monitor saying 16th of June, 2021. None of this should have happened. I know, but it did. We are the last hope for what remains of our race. Or at least so we all think. What do you mean? Do you really think that someone of his power and authority in such a trying time would do the right thing? Would you not want to be a hero? This is not about what I would do. What would he do? Is that okay? Sick again. He told me a story about some lady and her child. Something about a discussion he had with her before he retired. Then the footage cuts back to the interview. He still has nightmares about it. What was her name? Her last name started with a P. Nick, listen to me closely. Whatever happens next, there is more than meets the eye. Watch. Alex, what are you talking about? Him. Nicholas and Alexander. The two say yes, sir, as if the newer red text is in command. The voice appoints the light red text, Alexander, as security for the halls, and Nicholas is to work in some technology department to fix an issue. A pink text comes on saying that they watched nations crumble, and a world map fade to an explosion with sirens in the background. Then it shows a city crumbling. The pink text comes back talking about how 46 used them, and how they watched 46 take over the world. They mention how no one tried to stop 46, because they were too busy burying their loved ones. Who cared who took control at that point? The pink and a new blue text come on screen and discuss the eye, how it was the only thing that 46 fears, and how it must be kept watched. They mention the reflection, and for a brief moment 2 silhouettes appear on screen. One of John. After that glitch is another brief one with a green silhouette, but this one is hard to discern a gender of any kind. This conversation is also dated to the 31st of December 2022. The first one was June 16th, 2021. The two continue to hope that the reflection will save them, and the blue text almost respects the pink's blind optimism. After this, a new cream-colored text asks if anyone can hear them. Then we cut to the Bend Round statue lying on the floor in the flames on the stairs. The cream-colored text comes back, and they say they are the reason John won't be coming soon. They apologize, and the blue text asks if the cream text threw John into that, and they affirm. The date changes to the first day in the new year of 2023. With pink acknowledging the change, the rest of the video was blue making a monologue. But I'd like to say that for the rest of the Palladium's videos, I will not exactly be saying these long logs of text, because I've realized with how much time they take. And I'm sure you would rather have the synopsis than this video be an extra hour long. However, Blue's speech gives us an interesting idea, because he mentions different colors. Cyan walks through walls. Yellow will never be what is in their hearts. Green burns through the sky. Pink laughs spinelessly. Teal erases themselves to start again. But then he changes the sentence so that they hide away for so long. At the moment, it's difficult to figure out what any of this means, but we'll have to think about it. The description just says it remembers. Next is John versus Jonathan, and is just a kid fight scene with different powers fighting another boy. Wait, so both boys are named John? The next one is another battle, being Superpower FX Battle Andrew versus Top 1. Okay, since these are both the same kid, maybe he just changes the name somehow for some of these videos. In this case, I'm going to continue saying John. The next one is another battle between John and Jonathan. This one after that is John versus Jonathan versus Sam versus Levi. Holy smoke! This is just another fight scene giving more names to faces. The next video, Sam versus Levi, is just more of this. The video after this is named Chicken Fries. I shouldn't need to elaborate. Yep, this is a part of a serious ARG about world destruction. The next one is more tangibly related to the project, aptly named The Project. After a Palladium Productions intro, this one has someone walking down the hallway, into the system room that we'd seen previously in Minecraft form. The person receives a phone call from Nick, saying that he'll be late tonight because he's on security duty. We also learn that this area is called the Fusion Shaft. We learn that this is Alex speaking and that neither he nor Nick is trusted with information regarding the organization's heavily advanced, patented technologies. Alex picks up some keys to go through a room with a caution sign next to it. Nick warns not to go in there, but Alex already entered, and we see a red and blue light on both sides of the wall with a desk and lamp in the middle. Nick calls Alex insane, saying that the alarms will get him killed, but Alex already disabled them. He walks up to the desk to see the piece of paper. The paper is a blueprint for something called The Place. However, while talking to Nick on the phone, the camera drops and we hear rustling paper and running noises. Then it cuts to black. We see what looks to be a 3D rendition of the place diagram and some gameplay of someone running across a stone area. Then we hear a voice saying that you were never one to trust, likely referring to Alex. We hear Alex's scream and see physical renditions of the place played out in Gary's mod or source mod of some type. Then there's a back and forth about the green text, Nick being robbed of his brother by whoever is in charge, likely John? The face comes on screen and laughs, and Nick says he will regret it, showing us the Doomstriders logo. The one with the green star and white letters. The next video is Sam vs. Levi 2, another fight scene between the two boys. I love the old feeling of these videos, and would honestly love to see a modern, higher production value rendition of these. I think it'd be funny. Sam vs. Levi 2 Part 2 is more of the same. The next one is more relevant to the story, it being Alien Apocalypse 2. I'm only joking, half the video is just a John Cena meme. The next video is a Vsauce impression by John. After this is a Chicken Man Returns, another chicken fries dance video, which honestly, Burger King chicken fries are pretty good. The description is just the word help repeated over and over again. The winged cap is next, and shows a 3D rendition of the original dark area we saw from when Andrew got sent there. The perspective we watch from is looking down around the new place and wanders into a direction. When they turn their flashlight on, they walk around trying to find their way. Then they find a platform to walk on to find an elevated stone space. Then they see a blank-faced Link statue in front of them, and then it disappears. They're surrounded by Ben Drowned statues. The scene then cuts to one being very close while the player is in a pit, seemingly trapped. The scene then cuts to another Ben Drowned statue staring at them through the flames. The scene cuts again in a bunch of Ben Drowned statues on the ground. As they look around, the screen jitters until we can see the one true Ben Drowned above the rest. The player tries to escape the darkness, but then it cuts to the shaking in front of a faceless Link statue, then a jump scare by the Ben Drowned figure. The description says, he follow, he sees, he knows. Now I just threw out a bit of terminology that I did not explain, and I apologize, so I'll finally explain now. The environment seems to be 3D modeled in software known as Hammer Editor. This software is used in games from the Source engine, made by Valve, like Half-Life, Portal, and Gary's Mod, a famous sandbox game. The only reason I believe that this is Gary's Mod or some Source-adjacent mod is purely because of the texturing, blocky aesthetic, and then the Ben Drowned statue. Don't worry, I'll explain him too. I don't mean to offend the creator when I say this, because I'm still learning Source and Hammer Editor myself, but these shapes and environment designs are relatively primitive, a lot of sharp edges and slopes, so I think the person who made this did it custom and may not have a professional level experience with the software, but I still like the look of it. But the Ben Drowned statues make me think it's 100% Gmod, because they're too colorful and move a lot. So, the faceless Link statue comes from one of the Legend of Zelda games on the Nintendo 64 console. You need to use them to stand on pressure pads and complete puzzles or something. I don't know, I haven't played the game yet. But there's a famous online horror legend, or creepypasta, where some guy buys a copy of the game and the faceless Link has a creepy face and his name was Ben. He drowned. That's why the figure is often just called Ben Drowned or Ben. Phew. That was a long explanation. But I hope we have that sorted. One more thing, the Ben Drowned character and the use of the face of John as an evil character makes me think that they're the same since he used to go under the name of Master Link expressed in his early videos. So let's see where the story goes from here. What Lies Within .mp4 is next, and starts with who I assume is Alex in the place, based on the montage we saw when he got transferred. They walk to the end of the hallway, and we can see the silhouette of a dark monster, then a cut of static between other moments. This seems to be a montage of Alex's torture in the place, from the TV room to a face of Ben Drown, back to the same room. We see even brighter lights beaming the player. Then we cut to a scene of text, where the tan text is asking where they are, and the red text is angry with their question. Nick butts in to say why they can't be told the truth, and the red text tells them to butt out. Nick says that it's his business since his brother was sent to the place for him to die. The red text pushes the blame by saying that the Reflection Zone fears are doing the work for him, and that it's not his fault. Then we get some footage from Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask for some reason. After that, we get some shaky cam gameplay of a blank world, likely Alexander in the place. We hear some Legend of Zelda music in reverse as we come up to Ben Drown's statue. Then it glitches across the screen and purple text says that soon we will have the other two. Ben Drown does a jump scare and then the video ends. Inopportune.mob is next, and this one seems to show the forest room, purely based on what we saw in the previous montage. The screen acknowledges the person breathing heavily on the ground, then it says they need to leave immediately. And then it says it must use force to get them out, resulting in Ben Drown appearing behind them to then jump scare. The player then looks up at it and the video ends. I feel like we are breezing through the... Wait, we're only at 24 out of 60? And then we still have to cover the rest of Andrew. Operation Revenant.mob is next and starts with the player in the same Gmod area as before. But this time it has a VHS effect and we see a date and time. 10:30, October 21st, 2017. They stumble across the faceless Link statue, and when they hear a laugh, the statue disappears and the player gets jump scared. White text shows up telling the player that there is nowhere to run. The red text congratulates this work, but the white text says not to thank them because they're not here to help Red. The time changes to 2:40 AM on October 22nd, 2017, and the red text states that he has uncovered the other rooms. We then see the TV room and cut back to Red talking about the unoccupied rooms, and how the man with the cap cannot be left alive. We see the footage of the hallway again and then a burning cross with a character model on it. We see two different angles before the flames engross the cross, then a brief image of an eye. Now we see the dark area again, but the player looks to the sky and we see the eye yet again. The next scene has the date in a different corner, and the red text tells someone to send the Sentry. The Sentry seems to be a Half-Life 2 enemy. This is the City Scanner enemy from Half-Life 2. Further offering credence to my theory about this being in Gary's mod. It detects a match and red text demands who. Then we see footage of who I thought was John. Then we see a player holding an Half-Life 2 SMG. Nick saying to do it for John. He then starts destroying a bunch of manhacks, another Half-Life 2 enemy. They destroy a bunch of the manhacks, and Nick says to commence Operation Revenant. This confused me a lot. I thought that the red text was John, but if we assume that the face we briefly saw speaks was the real John, then 1, who's the red text, and 2, who was fighting the manhacks? The next two are more old videos, Vsauce Returns and John vs. Jonathan vs. Sam vs. Levi 2. The video after this is Fast and Furious. The next one, although from a similar time, is far more interesting. The name is Channel 46 News, Spicy Report. What an interesting name. They pose it as a stupid news skit, and I think it's decent, but this gives us an origin to the name 46. Fast and Furious 2, Face Off, I'm Back is a sequel. Next, however, is not so lighthearted. 6/20/20 is the next video, and we saw this on 46 Intel, so I'm not going to bore repeating it. My Spooky Basement Tour is next. Considering this one is here, I think the green-eyed shadow monster in his laundry room must be relevant somehow. John names his shadowy monster in his laundry room Ryan. Then he goes into the other room where he mentions it has sound installation so that when he kills you, no one will hear. I don't know why he says it like that, because it's really goddamn vague of who is killing who in this series. At least to me. Having the camera face towards him, we can actually see a silhouette of Ben Drowned. He then shouts out two people, Jackson and Charlie Lita. And there's the black cat. Adorable cat, dude. At the end, the music gets more and more intense. He seems to run from something. Maybe Ben? The next video is The Realm of Idiots 2, the sequel no one asked for. Other than the kid accidentally hitting himself in the nuts with a basketball, the ASDF movie-style cuts and skits actually kind of got me. The ending has some stuff regarding what would happen during an alien invasion, which I can't completely write off considering the plot, or what I think the plot is so far. The Convergence is next, and after the Palladium introduction shows a YouTube URL to the 6/2020 video, we see the 46 logo, and this is not a test statement, as well as that link page again. But then we get a computer screen in one of the system videos, presumably based on the architecture of the fusion core. The link is sent, and someone in white text says, "Lol, good one." The red text urges the other person to email them, not caring if they think this is spam or not. The white text says that they're confused because they know where the other user is located. The red text also gives an IP drop, and the white text counters with the same. The red text is impressed and mentions their main target. They then ask to consider their offer. The white text says to give them a target, and then they agree by the terms. Then the red text says, "Jack thinks we're fools. We will find the reflection, no matter the cost." The face comes on screen and we can actually see the two sides for once. One is concerned in blue and the other is smiling in red. Blue text says, "Good luck," and the red questions who they are. The blue text says that they are the one Red's mother sought for, showing the interview. Red doesn't care what Blue thinks, of course, and it's only when power is in danger from them that they care. Then we get this interesting animation of what looks like two timelines converging. White to red and blue, then blue to green. Then the blue text says that the timelines will reconnect to one. Eventually, blue mocks red, claiming that they're afraid to lose their power and work they've done up until now. We see the clips from the Time Paradox and Alien Apocalypse episodes, and some of these clips making more sense. Then we see a long hallway, the system. Then someone walking down it. Then this spinning animation into darkness. The next one is The Meaning of Life, Vsauce parody. This seems like another joke, but John actually mentions 46 in this closer to the end, about how 46 is the meaning of life. He then cuts to a glitchier footage segment. He's asking what 46 is, and he said that he's been researching a lot about 46 intel. He also says that 46 tricked people, including him, that they're hiding some truth. The truth being... and then he's dragged into the abyss. Then a shadowy figure wisps into the frame and leaves with the Twitter tag, Tweet Sauce. I refuse to say X. The figure at the end sounds like they're saying something, but it's pretty much inaudible. I tried captions, reversing, and even a spectrogram and got nothing. Next is When You Break Into a Friend's House. This has John and an alter of himself named Jim talking, and it's a whole skit about accidentally robbing a friend. Jim refuses to get a job, and John refuses to give him money. Then Jim reveals himself as Andrew. He says that someone else took his money and that he had to change his identity. That someone being Todd. However, the video itself, while interesting, is not the big focus. The first line of the description says, well, that wasn't supposed to happen. Hey Steve, initiate error code 113. Sound familiar? Also, as someone who studies cybersecurity, I can't let that slide. The hundreds are a code that means to proceed or continue. Yeah, I'm a nerd, so what? Get your error codes right next time. Yeah, I don't go outside, how could you tell? The next video is 3/22/21. We already covered that and mainframe breach on 05/01/22 already, so I don't have to worry about that. Next is Andrew vs. Todd 2. The cinematics are actually better for this one, so it was more enjoyable to watch, as corny as it is. Watching most of these back to back, I actually see a lot of improvement, and I quite like it. Next is 07/22/16. This one starts with a TV screen saying, "There's nowhere to run." The white text asks how it's sure that this is the place, then mentions a man with glasses. Then it corrects itself, saying there's two. Now we see the TV screen saying, "Welcome 07/22/16. It says he must be new here, but that it doesn't matter and that he's not the first. The screen says not to bend the laws of the place and that they've been compromised. We've seen this information before. It says it's playing 04. It then says that it's playing 06/04/2035. We then see some footage of the text talking about how technology is being used against them, but we'll see some more of that later on. The terminal closes out with how there is no time nor space, just this place, and how they will see John soon. The description for that one was just the word control repeated over and over again. The next video is The Watch Has Stopped Turning. I will be skipping this one as we'll look at it later. Yes, I know some of these will be technically out of order, but it's already not very cohesive. Don't worry, we'll round it out all at the end. Or we'll at least try. The next two videos we have already covered, Minecraft.wmv from Andrew and 46 Intel video titled This Is Not Reversible. No Matter is next on our list. We see Ben Drown say, the man with the wing capped. Where is he? Oh, well, no matter. He's not here any longer. Would you like to play together? This video has two choices, yes or no. Choosing the yes option shows the Majora's Mask light up and says that they should play good guys versus bad guys, with the mask playing the good guy. The viewer would be the bad guy. The bad guy just needs to run. The mask asks if we understand and gives us another choice, yes or no. The no video is the same as last time, so let's look at yes. Selecting yes shows Zelda gameplay of Link running, then it ends. The no video shows that Ben Drown statue with bright eyes and a fiery background. The description just repeating the title. You Know What You Did is our next video showing John in front of his computer just chilling on his phone. I also have no clue how his setup looks so clean. Like, I'm impressed. He then gets a Discord message from this long-ass name with Ben Drown profile picture. Putting that name through base 64 decoder, I got Believe in Your Strengths. But that's still too long, so I'm calling him Ben. He says, You know what you did, repeating the video title. John seems confused but asks who they are. Ben says that where are you is a more fitting question, as he's closer than John thinks. John chalks it up to a troll and he says he'll block Ben. Ben says that the man with the winged cap. Ben knows what John did in 2017. John, still confused, says that it doesn't make sense and what he's talking about. Ben says, you killed him. John says he doesn't know what Ben's talking about. And Ben says to stop lying. That he's just trying to shut it in the past because it's something he should not have done. John gets frustrated and tells Ben he knows who he is now. Ben asks why he did it, and John says he didn't. Then Ben says John never overcame the childhood fears about Ben. He says it's been 10 years since he learned about Ben, and we get 2 frames of Ocarina of Time, where it says, if it's something that can be stopped, then just try to stop it. John gets frustrated and says that Ben keeps persisting. There's a 46 logo that flashes while John types, and he says that Ben has haunted him for years, and that he noticed him in the footage he had shot the other day. The footage from the basement. His silhouette. Ben was always there, manipulating every step. Yet John disregarded his death, just so he wouldn't have to acknowledge Ben. We see Legend of Zelda footage overlaid on top as John types that he refuses that he was convinced to do anything. Then Ben says, August 23rd, 2016, 8 minutes and 3 seconds. Lo and behold, he's right. On the 100th video of the channel at the timestamp, John walks into the room of one of the other characters, and through some static, seemingly kills him, I guess? John tells Ben that it was just a joke in the video, and Ben makes him unsure of himself. Ben says that in the moment of the static, he took hold. Ben says that John is lucky he didn't kill John's friend. Yet, John still mocks Ben. John says it was because Ben was a fantasy created as a creepypasta for YouTube. Ben name drops John and says he's lived in John's head for over a decade. Then we see a split screen of John convulsing in bed with the image covering his face. John reasons there's no way this could be possible since it's just a 3D model. Ben then gives a cryptic message about the second performance of the man with the winged cap. Then we see a single image of the chicken fries dance. No way. Is the man in the winged cap the chicken fries version of John? While Ben says he can be anywhere at any time, a picture of Ben Drown appears on his other monitor, only proving his point. He shuts off his PC and heads to bed. He sits in his bed thinking, then gets under the covers to try and sleep. We start to see more Majora's Mask gameplay in the Ben Drown footage. John then wakes up from the nightmare and pulls out his phone, probably to calm himself with some YouTube. He gets a text message saying that Ben is getting lonely. The video then ends with creepy, childish laughter. The digital entity starts with the Legend of Zelda gameplay we've seen previously with backwards music, and then transitions to a text box saying, "You shouldn't have done that." Now we see another kid on his computer, and he gets a call. He tries to talk in the call but gets no response. He looks on YouTube, but then notices his lights flicker. Now he's gotten a Discord message. The user has an odd name and a profile picture. We can find through Discord that the boy's name is Sam, and that the figure wants to talk. It asks if Sam knows what 46 Intel is, and he asks who that is. The other sender just says it's good, he doesn't know. Sam starts to ask who the user is or he'll block them. Then they say he can't. And when he tries to press block, it doesn't work. The user claims they are the one who did it, and the user says that they live in the digital world, but aren't exactly an AI. Sam retorts that it just sounds like an AI. The user says it's embodiment of all Sam's greatest fears, and Sam says he doesn't buy it. Sam continues to taunt the user and then says he'll sleep with one eye open. The lights flicker again and the user says to watch closely. Then Sam just turns the thing off. Good decision. He then watches Backyard Wars, another series of the Palladium. But then the lights go out, and the Ben Drown shows up on the screen, giving the exact same exchange as last time about the winged Catman. He asks the "would you like to play" question, scaring Sam. It defaults to the no video, and then the lights come back on. Sam goes back to his computer, and the user notes that he came back online. Sam asks him what he wants, and he says he needs information. The person it needs info on is John Palladini. Sam says, what if he doesn't want to? The AI replies that disobeying orders have consequences. And Sam just says that if it's an AI, can't hurt him. Then the user says, I need not remind you of John's friend. For a brief moment it cuts to when John's computer got possessed by Ben. Sam is still confused by the remark about John's other friend, then realizes he can't even close out a Discord now. Sam taunts him again, saying that he has a trick or two up his sleeve. Then he opens a command terminal and starts typing. As soon as he presses enter, the video cuts to a tree and a plane with the Zelda text, I am dying. You failed me. The blue text says that Sam wasn't as susceptible to fear as his friend was. The white text doesn't accept the excuse, and the blue text suggests to wait until he plays the game. The white text doubts that John will just let things go knowing he has little time left. The glitch becomes more intense as the blue text says goodbye, and then we see a Ben Drown glitch away. Sam responds a couple of minutes later saying that the DNS is down and that a firewall and proxy blocker are on. The user then becomes confused and starts typing in a glitchier form. Sam said that he was able to hack it, and that the user realized that he is lost. But then, Sam wonders aloud about 46 Intel and their deal with John. We see a glitch scene again from the place and with Ben, and then the video ends. Next is A Blackened Moon. This one has the blue and green text interacting. Blue, or likely Alex, says he's surprised he made it out of the place alive, and Nick, or Green, says it's impressive. Nick then says that he needs to find a way out for Andrew next, and Alex agrees, saying that there's ties with the reflection that will strengthen. Blue asks Green how long he'll be under the Black Moon, and Green cryptically says as long as he ignores the warning of the one in need of a host. Indefinitely. Blue then says that damned statue, and asks if it's on Red's side. Nick says it seems he has his own ambitions. Then Blue asks if it was your brother that was tortured so many years ago. And Nick agrees, saying that he was the first victim and now watches over it. So it looks like I'm wrong. The blue text is someone else. Someone who was also sent to the place. Possibly the temp that we've heard from before. Alex suffered there and couldn't escape when it said that he now watches over it. A clip of the Eye played. So maybe Alex is now the Eye. Nick says that he also cannot be saved, only freed from his prison. The last scene shows a static TV. The description says that the Eye sees everything. Maybe instead of referring to that, it was listening to the conversation. The last video is called The Cringe Gauntlet Reacting to Old Videos. In the beginning of the video, John mentions how he found an SD card in the middle of the park. He notes that it looks nice and similar to the one that he owns. He says there's only one .wav file, and the file is named Morse. And believe it or not, it's opera music. I'm kidding, it's 5 goddamn minutes of Morse code. I'd like to give a quick shout out to morsecode.world for decoding that monster. I would never be able to make this video series without free and ad-infested websites cracking the code for me. But the morse.wav file said this. This message is for the past. I have lost everything. I hope when you find this message you will remember me, not for who I am or was, but for who I will be. All that I once loved is gone, and soon I will be too. However, before I go, I will do what could not be done before. It seems my 10-year-old self did not listen to my request, and now I will go and eliminate who caused all of this before they can manifest in this timeline. It's up to you then, to take him down. If you do not know of who I speak, you will soon enough. Good luck, friend. This seems to be John from the future regarding the video about the paradox. The next video is called the Consternation Survey, where it welcomes the viewer and at first says that you are one of thousands of participants, but for a frame in red says one of one. It says for best results, you should take off your hat, open your windows, turn the lights off, and delete. We can also see that this video was filmed April 13th of 2023. After starting the test, it first asks you to write what scares you most. Then we see a teal and yellowish color block. The teal block says, I will put you back together, and a light orb transfers, darkening the yellowish block. The block becomes gray and staticky before disappearing. After the teal block disappears, it skips to test 4 and says you'll be given images to record your reaction to. A sunset, a baby crocodile, a crow in moonlight, a knife, Ben. Then the screen cracks and glitches, and shows the smiling side of the face we'd seen previously. After that, the screen stays blank until we get the teal square back, and another white and green square pop up, both saying that they will put it back together, turning red while the teal block fades away. Then the red block becomes 2 beady eyes that eventually stare right back at you. A screaming noise ends their clip, showing a playground, while text saying, the place should be familiar. The memory's lost forever. Why are you still trying? The text wonders if it's for hope or for spite. As the date and time start to progress faster, the text says, you are broken. Then the video ends. The next video is the Consternation's Grasp. This one seems to be similar to the survey, but opens differently, saying, you killed me twice. Then shows what looks like a creepy version of Link. Then another creepy face, saying, I lied. The screen says, why are you still here? Repeating to leave. Then it cuts to test 305, simply saying, to survive. The eerie face from before shows up for a second, and we hear it start saying it thought it warned you. It then shows the yellow cube we saw previously, then cut to a weird high-pitched scream with an eye. Then back to the squares, shifting colors from a magenta, lime, red, and yellow. It mentions something called the counter moon, and the suffering it unleashed, then another pair of eyes from the darkness. Then we see a video of the moon, and the text says that they were just trying to warn John, yet he killed them. Then we see Ben, with the master sword through his chest. Next we see a green filter over 3 eyes, seemingly attached to one face. The text then shows over a glitching Ben, yelling about how he hasn't learned or listened to warnings. Then we see the blue cube again. It says to not do what your consternations want. Then we see a yellow, green, and purple text saying, do what I want of you. And the blue text says, not to do what Intel 46 wants. The blue square starts to fade to red, but then the text focuses on what 46 Intel wants. Then it tells John to remember his promise. Remember him. Do not forget who he is, because he hasn't forgotten you. John. This video shows the screen from the TV room. We can see that the eye, and for a split second it says, the agency won't last longer. Then it shows the Minecraft.wmv video playing quickly on the TV, and then the text says how the subject will rewatch their mistakes forever. After this we see cries for help on screen, and then the clip from the Vsauce video, where John realizes that 46 has been lying. Text at the bottom of the screen says that they're waiting for the reflection, saying that only the reflection can stop him. The description is base 64 code, translating to, time is running out, and while we may shout, we will never be hurt or saved, and we will forever remain enslaved. Now we're at the machine. In this video, we're back to the 3D system areas. From our narrator, we can hear this is the cloning room. They put down the camera and then activate the machine. After a flash of light, we can see a system screen that repeats the same speech we've heard before about using the technology against them. Then we see 2 pairs of the same legs run across the screen. It worked. The smiling face fades into screen to show both the smile and the annoyed frown from the word reflection. Nick beckons 46, and Red gets frustrated. Nick understands what he wants, and he plays his hand, showing that he was right. The poor, clueless monster that 46 is doesn't know what's going to happen. 46 threatens to put Nick in the place, and Nick says he'll burn it to the ground. Magenta and Blue chime in to claim that 46 will receive proper compensation for the torment they've been put through. And Blue says that Andrew will be saved, and to let them settle their past. A white text at the bottom says that the reflection knows who 46 now is, and that he told him. Then the video ends. The rules of the alternates.mp4 starts with the magenta text talking about 46, wondering if the three others knew that there was something different about the alternate John. Then we see who the alternate John is, the smiling face. Then we see the blue, more disappointed face, followed the blue text talking. We see cuts from multiple other videos like Cloning Machine and the alert announcement to agents, yet the reoccurring image of the blue versus red face shows a lot. Then we see a new video of Boy saying that he was contacted by 46 Intel. Shows the terminal with the YouTube link and white text response. After this we see a yellowish green text saying that they found the old pictures. A life you could have had. Likely referring to the alternate John. Then the kid shows the periodic table. The 46th element. Palladium. We see more clips from previous videos, and the blue text says that the reflection should have been allowed to know who 46 was. And while 46 admits that they are alike, he cannot know. Then, saying how it was eventually the end goal, the video ends. The next video is from 46 Intel, and we saw that already, so we're on to a distant memory. The video starts with the text saying the name John, and a blue text saying that it thought it killed the white text. The text explains how it is now a distant memory, a memory before the fall. It apologizes, and the blue text asks for what, revealing it's Ben. Ben reveals how he wished he warned John better and didn't let his vindictiveness prevent John from trusting him about the moon. Ben says he knows John only wanted what is best for everyone, and he says he still does. It's just not the decision to make anymore. Ben says if John could erase the memory, would he? No. Does John think that he's some knight in shining armor? John doesn't need armor. The description just says, Day 4. Don't Get Lost is next, and starts in a fake 3D forest with someone walking. They keep lonely looking up at the sky while walking, and some white text comes on screen to say, come back, don't get lost. Then we see the same forest at night, where our recorder seems to be walking into a blue, bright, spinning circular object. The recorder walks to the floating orb and gets transported. We then see a red film version of the same forest with a floating eye. Now we transition to the smiling face. 46. The alternate John. Whatever you want to call him. Who then reveals the one eye. While text urges to stop fighting and rest, then the eye closes. The binds of the timeline is next in the order. We hear someone talking, listing the names of the leader of 46 Intel, 6/2020. While they may think that the speaker is dead, he has only reached the core of their operations. He is here and using their technology to take them down from the inside. Like the chief said, the speaker says that they shouldn't have tortured his brother, and saying he himself is the Revenant. He will burn the place to the ground and make sure their efforts against the timeline are in vain. Doesn't matter if he dies. He will make sure the leader does too. Or else the chief will put him in a special place for the rest of time. We're getting close to being able to go back to Andrew Games and see how this story goes, but we must first finish these last few videos of the Palladium. Vsauce, 06.04.2035, and Fate.mp4. Let's roll through these. We see one of the Johns, likely the one from the end of Vsauce, when he was captured after mentioning 46 Intel, saying he's been in this place for years. We can see that the date says March 20th, 2029. He's been fed only enough food to keep him alive, but why? He then says how he hears a security alarm go off. He hides the camera and we see the face of Ben in the dark footage. After picking it up again, we can hear someone say, J. John, I'm getting you out. Then the video ends. 06.04.2035 is a parody of the FNAF 6 True Ending. The speaker addresses us as Samuel and then continues the speech pretty much the same way from here, with minor alterations fitting the idea of a channel over a pizzeria. When mentioning the monsters, I assume he means the alternate characters as they show up. The speaker mentions Jonathan returning to protect people, possibly the reflection. Lastly for this segment is Fate.mp4. The video shows us the TV room, a red screen as we hear wheezing from the recorder. The recorder tries to speak through the bated breath and is angry at those who put him here, but ends with the video with a scream. So that was the Palladium, or at least all the videos up until now. Anyway, please like, comments. I'm kidding. We're not even close to done. We have to now backtrack all the way to Andrew Games. Next by Andrew Games is Compromised by Reflection.avi. Starts with a sign on the 46 logo, broken by corrupted blocks saying, "We have since been compromised by the reflection." Then we cut to the blue ceiling from inside their mainframe world. During a glitch we can see the words "watch" and "that" flash by. Next red words that flash by are, "This is not a test." The camera goes into an iron door room with two pillars, a red lit pillar and blue one, the blue holding the lantern. Then the face we see before says, "He he 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 he," and terminates connection. This ends up going back to the first segment of the sign, but the audio is in reverse. The description states, "We've been compromised. Do not mistake us for being incapacitated, however." This is one of the videos we've seen snippets of multiple times. Then we have item.avi. Starts with Andrew watching the sign as we just saw in the last video. He's still in version 7. He destroys the sign and types "why." Then we see how the world has changed. It's more terraformed and there's a new bridge. Getting back to his house, he finds a new chest in between a blue and lime wool block. The two signs saying, "Keep fighting, Andrew. Don't give in." The others say, "Take the item in the chest, but don't do anything with it yet." The item in the chest is an animated object that constantly shifts colors, like a broken TV static screen. It's named only Item. When holding the item, it scares Andrew since it makes a very loud mechanical noise. Andrew puts the item in a chest and destroys the wool and the chest that came with it. He does, however, take the wool and fence and put them outside like scarecrows. The lime one likely representing Nick, and the blue one possibly representing John, the Palladium, or someone. Whoever the blue text is at this point. Then Andrew puts the signs down. In front of the blue one it says, "I feel like I remember you." And in front of the green one, "I've seen someone like you." Andrew goes back and looks at the item. Then the video ends. Archive 7/4/22. "I've seen someone like you before." Now we have He's Already Seen You.avi. We can see Andrew placing some stairs down to the lake behind his house. When he leaves his house, we can also notice he's upgraded his path to smooth stone slabs. The area is full of torches, but it has been like that for a while, showing his paranoia, possibly to the dark figure. He goes to the wool blocks and changes the signs. He changes the blue one to, "I don't know you. I don't think I do." The green one is now, "Who has seen me?" Making his way to the 46 logo, we can see it now says, "Because there's nothing to find." All of a sudden, loud noises play and startles Andrew as the world goes dark and fire appears around him. He's in a burning ring of fire and panicking, until all of a sudden it disappears. He destroys the sign and writes, "What are you? Who are you? What is going on? Who am I?" Andrew goes into his inventory to use sand to calm himself, then walked back over to the bridge. For the rest of the video, Andrew just looks over the water behind his house. The description states, Archive 7/5/22. Did some renovation. Are those blue and green people real? Are they actually responding? Or am I just... Never mind. Next is Anomaly. We see through the dark figure's eyes for once and watch Andrew in his house. We can see him mining, then the dark figure is looming in the cave's shadows to watch Andrew. We keep switching to different spots to watch Andrew until at 2:02, text on screen says, "Anomaly detected." No matter the spot, Andrew seems to never notice where the figure is. Eventually the video just ends. Underground.avi shows Andrew's version of events, where he decides to start his mine. While mining, he eventually finds gold. He mines it, and it turns into gold ore items that we know today. a lump of gold. However, when it does that, for Andrew, it suddenly turns back into a gold ore block in his inventory. But other than that, not much. He makes a diamond chestplate and the video ends. The description says, Archive7522. More diamonds! Do not question our cause for removal and redistribution. Regarding that last part, some comments say that this is a re-upload because of some blooper, but I don't know what the blooper is. Sunset.avi starts with Andrew climbing a tree to watch the sunset in his world. After climbing down, he goes to sleep and walks to his big house. Going back, he sees the blue and lime block signs have changed. The one in front of the blue wool says, "You may not know now, but you will." The lime one says, "The one who sees everything." The signs bewilder Andrew, and he responds with, "I don't know who you are," to the blue one, and "sees everything?" to the lime wool sign. After going in his house, Andrew seems to fixate on something outside. He goes out to follow it and ends up in a stone plank to seemingly either dive from or admire his house. But standing on it, he notices something under his house. Going to investigate, he finds a hollowed out room underneath his house with a single chest. Inside is a book named Read by The Palladium. Not all hope is lost. He can't see everything. He is no god. I know you don't know who you are right now, but I promise, once we get you out of here, you and the conspirators' ties to me will strengthen. We will find a way to destroy this place. This horrid nightmare. Me being alive is the reason it still exists. I am his sworn enemy. I never knew why, but we can make him regret what he's done. What he did to Alexander. What he did to the man with the winged cap. And what he did to the temp. All of it, paid in full. No wrongdoing will go unanswered. 46 will fall. You must wake up, Andrew. 072216. You must wake up. Sign The Reflection. Andrew uses dirt and cobblestone to hide the room and get back into his house through his floor. Then he realizes that the sand in his inventory is stacked in 46s. Right when he starts to go crazy, the video ends. The description reads, Archive7522. Sunset. Sun sets. The distinction between sunset and sunset seems to mean something. What? Like most things here, I don't have a clue at the moment. Next is moon.mp4, and we are viewing from none other than the Palladium himself. In the sky we see a black moon with a red glow. This must be the dark moon we've heard about. Palladium opens the book and quill and starts writing the note he'll leave to Andrew. We get a still shot of the dark moon rising, however, it changes to a normal moon when we see Ender Creeper 07 left the game. Then it glitches to the Palladium has left the game. There is no description, but that was a very well made video. And my appreciation immediately crashes when I see who the top comment is. A little channel called Doomstriders. 13 subscribers and 1 video. But that name and profile picture are exactly what we have been looking for. The counter-organization going against 46. Let's look to their one video for a moment. His .mp4 starts with static, but then we see green text. I was looking through your things. I found these old pictures of the life you could have had. But instead, you took it. From everyone. How are you still here? Did they not prune your entire dimension? That's surprising. They didn't bother to kill you, did they? Look at you. A monster. A demon trapped in the very place you created. You think you have another shot, don't you? Let's go, John. Think back to all that you did to bring the reflection pain and suffering. During the speech, we could see things like the Palladium's face and the Majora's mask show up in the background. 2 distinctly colored voices, magenta and blue. Where am I? You're in the place. Just as John had conspicuously stated. How do you remember that? You've never met John. I feel like I remember, but I can't. Are we alive? I don't know. I wanted to die. I gave myself up to destroy Todd. Why am I here? 46 must have had a bone to pick with you. Cursed is he. I've been here for a while. For how long? My watch has stopped running, so I've counted every second since I entered this place. My estimate is about 565 days, but it felt like thousands of years. What did you do to enter this place? I nearly revealed their motives. My eyes hurt. Tears of liquid bromine stream down my face. My mouth tastes of rusted iron and my throat feels like it's covered in sand. Where in this place are you? I'm unsure. However, it's impossible to find one another in this labyrinth. There is no time nor space in this elaborate damnation. We can only pray that 46 burns in hell. This room. Why do I know this room? My room has only a TV set in it. My room is a recreation of John's room. How, though, would 46 know what it looks like? I can see a light through the cracks of a blind, implying the presence of a window. As I pull back these blinds to find out what's outside, however, there's always another blind. There are infinite blinds. See a door too, but it's locked. Maybe we'll be saved. As long as 46 is in our presence, it's not possible. We're powerless here. 971622. I tried my damn best to warn everyone. The green text then comes back. I hope you're happy, you fiend. I would kill you, but death is too good for you. Instead, your evil soul can just consume itself forever. I will watch your body decay inside out. Call it cruel, I call it justice. Justice for those you tortured so mercilessly. If there is a God, he awaits them in the afterlife. Remember when I said I won't stop until you burn in hell? This is that hell. Welcome to eternity. To end the video, we see the Doomstriders logo. Yeah. Anyway, let's head back to Andrew Games for the final time, hopefully. But before we check the next video, let's visit the community tab. The first is a black image that needs to be brightened. Doing so shows little results, but it could possibly be a cross like we've seen before. I'll try and brighten it in the editing to see if we can find anything else though. Next is a message in a Caesar cipher. The cipher shifts the letters in the alphabet to encode things. Using a shift of 13, we get Ben, what lies within. Have you found it? The blackened moon? The reflection may not survive this. The next post is a 3D rendered image which must seem familiar to us by now. A blue light against a red light with a lamp in the middle. So now we can get back to the actual videos again. Pumpkinpatch.avi has Andrew at his house. When he goes outside, he notices the signs on his blue and lime wool people are missing. He makes a sign and writes, "What happened? Where did you go?" Then Andrew walks on his bridge to go to the other island. Halfway there, he needs to use sand to calm down and then backtracks to his house. Andrew fixates on a torch behind his house that he didn't place and decides to follow it. This leads him down a torch path to finding a patch of pumpkins. Andrew counts the pumpkins. 28. He decides to pick them all up and goes back to his house. He spots the dark figure and the footage ends. Wade.avi has us back with Andrew on his back deck looking at the trees behind his house, and then deciding to take the item and put it in his hotbar. He leaves his house and decides to go right, but when he has his shaky movement, he resists the sand multiple times. After walking through an area we haven't really explored yet, Andrew stops at a beach, then continues back on his path, when something catches his eye. While walking over a hill, he notices a clear wall, a world border. When trying to touch it, he gets sent back multiple blocks. Attempting to use the item on it makes him get sent back to the red glass cage with the red-vested figure in front of him. When he gets sent back to his world, he scours his chest to find the item, but can't. We can also see that the manifestation is now V7_1. Andrew then walks out of his house and goes to the two wolf friends, changing the signs to, "Is anyone there?" Andrew decides to end his day off by staring out into the sunset from his back porch and uses some of the sand. When he goes back inside, he looks through his chest, looks out the window, looks at the bridge on his porch upstairs, and then goes to bed. Archive7622. I lost the item. It's my fault. The next video from Andrew is document.avi, and this one happens to start in the fusion core shaft place. We see the manifestation number is 4_1, so this must be from a while ago. We see two agents talking. One we're familiar with, 12721 and 102117. 127, as I'll be calling for short, asks if he ever got the project document, and says how a temp was supposed to deliver it to the project room. 102 says that he never saw it in the logs of it arriving, and 127 gets afraid figuring out that's how they got compromised, and 102 asks if they should tell him, saying he will do it. 127 wishes him good luck, and as we see panning shots of different system rooms we've seen before. 102 comes back to 127 saying he needs to find the dev to put the temp into the old iteration as punishment for failure. 127 argues that version is extremely broken, and that 62020 doesn't understand the issue. But 102 counters that orders are orders, and then the video ends. The next video is 102.117.avi. We see the lava world again, or possibly an earlier version considering there are more trees. 127 calls 102 a bastard for purposefully withholding the key from the temp so that they could frame the temp and take the document. He asks if 102 knows what they did to him. They put him in the broken iteration. He's gone. A punishment he didn't deserve. Then 102 talks about Alexander's punishment. But what will 127 do? Report 102? He won't believe 127. No one will. 127 asks for the document and 102 says it's gone. He wanted it for a reason. A document where you can breach any iteration with a simple jar file. It was brilliant. But he didn't want it for himself. He gave it to someone who they've been told is an enemy, saying the reflection sends his regard. 127 panics and the video ends with the description saying it was archived June 27th of 2022. The next video is tv_room.avi. We open with Andrew at night and he walks out of his house to see a birch sign with his wooden one gone in front of the 2 wool blocks. The sign says, "Andrew, I told you not to use it yet." He gets a little scared by a pig and then decides to go to his old cobblestone hut on the beach. When he gets to the cobblestone hut, we can notice that the glass inside that used to be there is replaced by a black box and red text that looks like the TV screen we've seen before. The block and new floor are also unbreakable with his diamond pickaxe, and a black wool interior lines the walls. Seems that someone has renovated it without his knowledge. He goes inside his house and then ends the video. The archival date is July 7th, 2022. Declassify.avi is the average issue that War Thunder has to deal with every month. It also happens to be the video we're going to cover. We start in the 4_1 manifestation, where an agent drops into the dark area with tools, blocks, and some torches. They drop down into the dark area and we can see a lava puddle as they fall. The dev asks what happened to 102 and 127 tells him to forget the code name, because there's no sense in protecting Nick's identity anymore. The dev apparently didn't know his name, but the dev still doesn't know who it is. 127 mentions he was Alexander's brother, and the dev gets surprised by that as the agent we watch fills in the lava. 127 reminds that he was the first victim, and now the eye watches constantly. This is when the agent we see through finishes their job. But at the end of the video, we see the eye peering around a corner, watching incessantly, just like 127 said. The archival date is June 30th, 2022. The next video is 2016-06-11-120243.mov. This video is odd for a few reasons. 1, the version is normal. 2, we're in a menu. And 3, this is from 2016. When opening a world, the one available is JP Survival. The player spawns with some enchanted items in a nice house. Through a chest, we can also see that the player has a lot of items. The player kills some mobs outside and does some other Minecraft things like farm, build, and stare off into the clouds for a bit. Only for 3 creepy eyes to come onto screen. This is an image we saw before with its creepy green filter. Me and many other commenters suspect that this video is likely footage from Ender Creeper due to the Ender-themed skin that we see briefly, even though we don't really see a name or anything. Next is video 7. This video is released out of spite. The video is a very grainy, blurry minute of footage of a wooden house. It has a glass roof, some essentials, and a dog. That's pretty much the video. The description says, when, where did the time go? I say this video was made out of spite because this video was posted on a day I told the creator about my script, and he said he'd give a grace period for videos. He did not give a grace period for me, and like the other people who are working on these videos. Well, I'm just gonna have to be the fastest to make it. I'm kidding, this is gonna take me forever, but I intend to try and make this the most thorough. Or try to. Anyway, while I was actually recording this script, a new video came out, so I had to quickly write a synopsis for that. The next video is Scared. It just shows a blank world with a TTS voice saying that it needs help and cannot breathe or move. Then we see a Minecraft cage broken. It then cuts to what looks like an eye. Then the player looking down a cave asking if they run or hide or fight it. They end it by saying that they are scared and no one understands who they are. Hello viewer, it's me, Editor Moosh. Oh my god, I've been editing this thing for like a goddamn week. Anyway, so yeah, that was a lie, not the last video. At least it wasn't a lie at the time. So The creator has been making so much stuff. I'm not even joking. There's new codes. There's a new world download. I'll show them right here. I haven't actually solved all of them myself. Someone has gotten into the world download. It is apparently password encrypted, I think. So yeah, that's interesting. But what I've decided to do is look at just one more of the videos before I do go back to the original script, just because there's one theory I want to get out, but I'm not going to explain the third newest video, which does have important stuff to my current-ish theory, or the idea I'm going to give, but I'm not going to try and spoil it too much. So, in Murderer.avi, we have Andrew in Manifestation 7v2. He starts the video by spazzing out, and seems to be pretty confused by his food being stackable, which, according to the creator, is apparently important, I guess. Then he puts down some deep slate and seems confused and mines it back up. After his lonesome, weird rummaging, he goes outside and we see the scene that made me want to explain this section. We see more wolf figures, but now with arms. A red one with a mangrove root hand and an oak body on the floor with a pink head and pink skull, the lime one, a magenta one, and a blue one. Then there is a cyan one underneath a 3x3 block. You can't see it in the dark, but I swear it's there. Andrew mainly focuses on the mangrove wood post and skull being confused by their existence. He also removes the magenta wool head for a moment, but then puts it back. He goes back inside, and when looking at his deck, we can notice how foggy it is. Barely able to see anything. Then it looks like he tried to find the room under his porch with no success. He then walks back to the statue area, but continues over the bridge, getting to the 46 logo where we see it's been taken by some corruption and redstone. Then there's some birch signs that say, "Murderers, go in the chest. Don't F it up again. We don't have many chances left." Then the next sign, "The chest is trapped. Do not open." The last sign was oak, so possibly 46 trying to sway him. Inside the mysterious chest is another item like from item.avi. Taking it, he goes back home, and when he does, we can see him do this weird pattern of sand in his inventory. Notice it's all stacked in 46. After a bit, he goes back to the cyan wolf figure, puts some cobblestone on its shoulders, and puts some torches on them. Then he goes back to the porch, and we can see what were once roses are now dandelions. He takes them, puts them in front of the cyan wolf figure, tries to walk away, then starts going backwards all the way back to the chest in 46 logo, and then he stares at the sign. That sign then goes blank, and then the video ends shortly after. The description is pretty much just the archival date. So, the main reason why I wanted to cover this video and not the other two, besides laziness and time, and the fact that I just got back from an event and I'd like to get this video done and rather just have like a bunch of stuff extra. By the way, this thing's probably going to be done by the like 8th or 9th of August, maybe. I don't know. It depends on how busy I am. So this thing is going to be... Obviously, I don't know it yet because today's the 7th, but there's going to be like 9 more videos in this ARG by the time this gets uploaded, just because that's how fast the creator makes these, which honestly kind of impressed. But the little theory I want to get out, and you're going to hear a lot of different stuff after this because there's a whole nother part of this ARG, but I won't spoil it yet. That'll come in the pre-recorded section that's coming next. And then I won't explain how I got this information because it's a later video and I want you to go check out this series if you're interested. I think that we now have all, if not most, of the identities of the wolf figures. The creator has confirmed for me that some of my guesses are right, because I'm in the Discord with the creator. It's not the RGN sub-community. I tried to check there, and like nobody types there, and I'm kind of sad. So if you are into this ARG, check out. I actually kind of don't recommend checking that out because there's like no information on there. If you want to like put a bunch of information, I'd really be glad. Because there's like no slides or documentation or anyone like making any considerable theories on this. I've just been using the Palladium Discord, which is where there's a lore section there. Anyway, I'm getting so off track. I'm doing this off the cuff. So, regarding the figures, I think the cyan is obviously the Palladium. It's the reflection. He's under the blackened moon. Pretty goddamn obvious. Interestingly, the thing about the cobblestone and torch, because the creators said to me that this series is very symbolic. Like everything, symbolism, a lot of symbolism. So I think he's holding a burden on his shoulders. I think that something about him being under the blackened moon and stuck and only being able to watch from afar and not actually stop anything that's happening, I think it's a burden on him. It's a weight on his shoulders. And I think the torches on the shoulders besides just being a lighting trick so you can actually see. I think that it represents the souls. Because behind, I think it's behind every head. I'm not looking at the video right now, so I can't see it. But behind every head of the wolf figures is a torch. So what if that torch was representing their soul, their person? Maybe that's why pink one that's dead on the floor doesn't have one. So the cyan wool is carrying the burden of having to save the two people stuck in the place. The S113 guy and Andrew. Here's the weird part. I think I know blue. The dark blue one. I think it's either J. John or the temp. But I don't know who the temp is. That's kind of the difficult part. We know green is Nick, and we know red is 46, we know pink is Alex. Alex is dead. At least it's shown that 46 murdered Alex, because supposedly these stick figures are not coming from 46. Why would they want Andrew to know anything? But in my eyes, these stick figures are coming from the black figures, the Palladium, etc. They are being placed on Andrew's land so he can understand what's truly happening. So in my eyes, I think that maybe it's not the Palladium, maybe it's Nick, because this is the idea from Nick's perspective that 46 killed his brother. Even though Alex may not be dead, the creator, I'm giving you the hints that are technically public from the creator. Alex is not entirely dead. He's dead, but not all of him, which is the dumb part. But we know that the color associated with Ben is like a tannish. We know white is something. We know pinkish is Alex, who's dead. We know green is Nick. We know red is 46, who may be one of the John clones. I'm still not sure at this point. And we know cyan's the Palladium. But dark blue, I think, could be J. John, or possibly Sam. But the weird thing is that I don't know why Sam would be here, because there hasn't really been any mention. And here's a really out there theory. I think magenta's Alex, or not Alex, Andrew. I think magenta is Andrew. Magenta may possibly be Andrew, because we know that Alex was the first victim of the place, so the place has multiple victims. And I think that Andrew was on the side of 46 before he killed Alex, and before he was sent to the... This is going to be a little thing that you're going to see in a minute. The main timeline. Don't worry, I'll explain that in a bit. And I think that once Andrew rebelled, he was put in the place, because we already know that Andrew was one of 46's men. So, I think Magenta but knew that 46... that Andrew knew that 46 killed Alex, but then he had his memory wiped and he was put in the place, etc. I think Nick is green, and I think Nick is part of the Doomstriders, who's part of the Doomstriders, is trying to show us this. And then I think blue is J. John, because these are the alternate versions, which is who made all this stuff. Don't worry, we'll explain the alternate versions later. I know it's difficult. And then cyan is obviously the Palladium. So yes, this is an off-hinged rant theory-ish thing. It's based in a lot of things that I haven't explained yet or won't explain, purely because it is incredibly recent, and if I continue to make this video longer, it's just gonna make less sense considering what I've already recorded. So, purely for my sanity, go check out the series. If you're really interested in the theories, I really recommend the Palladium Discord. It will be linked down below, because that's where like a lot of the theorizing has been. And after this video, I'm going to be burned out. Anyway, that's something for another time. So now back to the pre-recorded section that'll actually explain some of the random stuff I just said. Now, I did say that the series is not over, which is both technically correct and wrong. Yes, there are no more videos at the moment to cover, except for one cheeky unlisted video that the Palladium has mentioned but says this is an Easter egg. No. I'm talking about the official wiki. Yep, there's an official wiki for the ARG that clears so many things up. Why have I not mentioned it up until now? I didn't want to. But on a more serious note, I left this till the end because it rounds out a lot of the edges and questions that we've had so far. I'll try and be brief when it comes to the wiki so that we can make our grand theory. Luckily, this wiki is actually probably the most well put together fandom wiki I've seen yet, which is both disappointing and very impressive. The main 5 segments we need to pay attention to is the timeline, characters, places, alternates, and anomalies. Let's go through these one by one, shall we? In the timeline, there are 3 splits. There's the chaotic timeline, the lawful timeline, and the main timeline. The chaotic timeline is surprisingly simple, being that it is the timeline where the Third World War caused by the alien apocalypse left the world governments in ruins, and 46 Intel took the place ruling pretty much the whole world. The lawful timeline begins in 2015 when the Master Link moniker is created, that being John's first big alias. Then the paradox skit happens, creating the main and lawful timelines, having to do with the Johns converging at one point. Before we look at the full timelines, we should look at the characters and alternates first. I would say that places and anomalies are also important, but we've actually covered a majority of these information pretty in depth, like the place and the mainframe, which are the main important ones, so I'll only look at the characters and alternates. Characters are pretty much in 7 categories, but we can ignore the last one since they don't seem to play a big role in the timeline as a whole. First is heroes. We have John, Lucas, Jonathan, Sam, Levi, J. John, and Andrew. This is a pain in the ass since 3 of these people are the same looking guy. The first John goes by Master Link, Palladium, and the Reflection. Next is Lucas, childhood friend of John's and aide during the first Alien Apocalypse video. He's really mostly mentioned and rarely actually shown, only having a total of 4 appearances, 3 of which are just his name being mentioned. Jonathan is another friend of John's and helpful in Alien Apocalypse 2. Sam is next. He is Levi's brother and worked as an anchor for 46 News briefly and goes under the name Sam1001. Levi has very little info in relations besides being Sam's brother and appearing in a video as a co-reporter. J. John is a member of the Doomstriders, and his real name is unknown. He's the one who did the Vsauce bits. He also helped in Operation Revenant, working with Andrew's alternate. Don't worry, we'll get to that. Andrew, who is an alternate, was first a villain who went on a redemption arc and betrayed 46 Intel to use their technology and help John and Jonathan in the main timeline. So now, why is he called alternate? Well, alternates are people from the chaotic timeline who survived the alien apocalypse, but then were exposed to a radioactive change of some kind, granting them special powers. This is supposed to be a canonical explanation to the FX fight scene stuff. When Andrew defected, he became a member of the Doomstriders. The 2 main villains are 46 Intel and Ben. I am sure we are quite acquainted with both. 46, or he, is the leader of the 46 Agency. Ben has no leaning affiliation. Now we're on to the alternates and chaotics. The alternates are just Intel 46 members that have powers and are trusted members, but we don't get any exact numbers, so they may be more than agents. Chaotic Sam and Chaotic Levi are kind of one-off characters that have no real importance. They're lore relevant because it's just the normal and alternate versions who formed into one, but they have very little story relevance, so we can skip over them. For neutral characters, we have the Eternal, who is the blue 3D model we saw previously. They are the one that the mother of 46 sought out and names before, after, and in between. So basically he's space-time. He has power over the timelines and doesn't interfere with them. The Eye is next, and while it's assumed it was created by 46, they have no real control over it, and it kind of just roams the place. The Chicken Fries Man, oh my god, he's a lore-relevant character, is John wearing a Chicken Fries Burger King crown. Nicholas, Alexander, and Officer Heath are 3 separate characters who I'm looping all into one. Officer Heath is the father of the 2 with minimal involvement. Nick is the chief of the Doomstriders, started to topple 46 Intel because of what they did to Alex. Alex is Nick's brother. Lastly are the 3 organizations. Yep, there's 3 apparently. 46 Intel and the Doomstriders we've become quite acquainted with, but the Iris Agency is new. They're kind of irrelevant as they just kind of study some of the alternate creating devices 46 Intel has made, but have no actual impact on the story as far as we know. That is it for our characters, so let's learn about the timelines. For the lawful timeline, I'll try to sum it up as much as I can. John invites Lucas to his house, and then the first alien apocalypse happens, and then the aliens were there to get info for their next apocalypse. Then someone leaked government documents because he thought what 46 Intel was doing was inhumane. He is also the catalyst for the Doomstriders operation, this being Alex. There's a bunch of fights between the alternates sprinkling in the Vsauce and Chicken Man videos. The man in the wing cap is also supposed to be dead in What Lies Within.mp4, killed by Ben. And later we have First Contact subsection. This is when 46 Intel first contacts people trying to learn about John, but most of their leads go cold, like with Andrew breaking into John's house. Then J. John gets silenced by 46. The Alien Apocalypse 3 happens, and this is where the timeline ends, as John goes back to 2016 to warn 2016 John about the coming attacks to stop their happening. This is where the convergence happens, leading to the main timeline. A lot of the aspects of the main timeline are pretty much the same, but with some slight differences, so I'll only mention the differences until the new stuff happens. In this timeline, John does not invite Lucas over and uses a future weapon to single-handedly erase the second and third alien apocalypses he got from his future self during the convergence. At the convergence point itself, there's another alternate fight, and then we get more lore-related videos and events. Ben started using Discord to confront John and Sam. Sam successfully prunes and destroyed Ben's last digital form. Ben and John also get into a mental prison with each other, pretty much where Ben tries to warn John, but he also stabs Ben's physical form with the Master Sword. Then there's the Cringe Gauntlet with the Morse code audio file. After one alternate fight, there's a final timeline split, the Retribution and True endings. The Retribution ending is kind of an eternal loop since the Time Dilator, the thing that killed that one alien, was never destroyed, locking their final alternate battle in a stalemate. The True ending involves the dark events of the FNAF 6 parody and involves John taking the Dilator back, destroying it, and then dying by what the government would call mysterious means. Now, thank you everyone so much for wait, we're not done? I had forgotten that this entire video started as AndrewGames722. Well, we kind of know the full story. But what we know is the timeline of the Palladium cinematic universe. Not everything that happened with Andrew. There's still many questions there. Andrew is an alternate who lived in the chaotic timeline and went against 46 Intel. He got punished for his treachery by being sentenced to something known as the Place. This is sometimes represented in Gary's mod, Minecraft, or just 3D modeling. Andrew is being kept there, by having his memories subdued by using the sand to calm and stabilize him. The sand subdues his memories and emotions. Anytime he figures something out, or John tries to save him, the organization just changes the version, ups security, and prevents any intrusion from the outside world. But Andrew is slowly advancing. There are times when he can resist the subduer. He is gaining answers and questions and knowledge. Now, Andrew Games as a series itself has no true answer yet. In fact, we have mostly questions. Who is Ender Creeper? Who are the other guys that got trapped with the smirking skin? Well, that one I assume could be the temp that was mentioned to have been used as a scapegoat. It's not certain or very verifiable considering that the temp actually left the simulation, but it's all we got. Seriously though, this video went from a small Minecraft ARG that kept commenting on some of my videos and streams to an actually pretty expansive and branching story. It just makes me wonder what I miss, what I got wrong, and more importantly, what's next? I'd like to thank the Palladium for making this ridiculous conspiracy. For as much sleep as I've lost from it, this is my biggest project yet, and I can't say I had no fun covering it. My opinion on the ARG has changed quite a bit throughout writing and all that. At first, I thought it was annoying and bland, whoop-de-doo, another Minecraft Dark Figure ARG. But honestly, as I slowly started peeling back the layers, finding hidden channels, hidden videos, and looking through all the lore that was kind of haphazardly thrown together, I loved it. It has a unique charm and wide array of puzzles and ciphers, but oh my god, can I not appreciate enough that I'm done with it. Not joking, this is my longest script by far. 52 pages! That is actually insane. And who knows how many hours of recording this has been so far. I think it's over 2. My second longest video script is like 32 pages or something. Not even close. I'm gonna be honest though, as much fun as I did have with this in the end, I am not making another video like this for a fucking while. I can't even imagine all the work I'll have to do for editing. Over 100 plus videos to convert, cut, and time to my narration, which ones to skip, how to find the hidden ones again, not forgetting any, oh my lord. And then fixing all the corrections and stupid stuff I missed. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, please check out my other stuff. I have other ARGs if that fits your fancy, but I also recommend the other games I cover in this similar style. Those are of an equal quality. Seriously though, This video has caused me a lot of mental burnout. Writing and pausing for nearly 6 days straight. I'm not even joking. It took me like 3 days to get away from the headache that I had gotten from just like going through frame by frame of all these videos. Like, I actually had burnout. My hands grew carpal tunnel. I had to write another script at this time too, and it just actually physically hurt to write that script. It just hurt to be in front of my computer for a while after this, but it was fun regardless, and I'm glad that I'm back in my mental state, even though it took multiple, I think about a week to actually record this, or to grow the patience to record this. But yeah, it really just shows the importance of burnout and being able to know when to take a little bit of a break. And I'm not even at like stage 2 of this. Whatever. Last message before I have to cut myself off. Thank you all so much for the support thus far. I love the support we've gotten on streams and some of the other videos. Check those out and subscribe if you enjoy to the other stuff too. Anyway, it's been me, Moosh. Comments, criticism, and suggestions are always welcome, and I will see you later. Arrivederci. We then see the tea room. We then see the TV room. We then see the tea.